That's a good sign. That. Hello, everybody. Mike Verta here. I'm doing a master class tomorrow night and testing a new setup. So the only real way to test it is by testing it. So, welcome to my master class test. Happy belated birthday from Germany. Thank you. Happy birthday. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Yes, today is my 551st birthday. It's been 551 great years. Looking forward to another 550. Yeah, tomorrow night we're going to be doing a master class on chord voicing. When is the way? You are signed up for the chord voicing master class, aren't you? How could you are, right? You're not missing that. Or do you know everything there is to know about chord voicing and you don't need my class? Sure. You should definitely come. It'd be like a birthday present to you from me. No, it's actually a class that has been requested a ton, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what it meant for the longest time. Because people always chord voicing, and I'm like, well, it's kind of covered in orchestration, and it's kind of covered in composition 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and kind of always talked about it. But I went back over a lot of the questions, and I could kind of see that there were some really obvious basic questions that kept coming up over and over again, and I kind of remember having the same ones myself. So tomorrow night we're going to do just a chord voicing intensive, which I think will be really useful. Happy birthday, Mike! It's my 21st anniversary. So much to celebrate. Awesome, 21 years. Congratulations. How's this class going to be different? What are you covering that hasn't been so far? Well, it's funny because, like I said, sometimes it's a question of, even though there's overlap in the classes, sometimes there's, just saying things in a different way a bunch of times finally makes it click for people. But also, chord voicing itself, how to voice chords outside of another, consideration, is not something we've done directly. It's always attached to something else. And even though I think that's the way to learn it, as part and parcel of orchestration and composition, having them all be inextricably linked. There's also something to be said for, okay, let's go in the headspace of where you are when you're writing and you're in the chords part of the writing, which is its own thing. And I try to get away from compartmentalizing the music writing process because it's counterintuitive and makes the work a lot more complicated and harder to manage. It's not necessary to do that, and it ultimately retards your understanding and progress. That said, it's comforting for people to hear the thought processes and see very specifically what I'll go through when I'm making chord voice choices, so that at least they've had some time inside of each one of the disciplines to actually work some techniques. And that's why I do specific ones sort of after the general ones. So it'll be different in that it's really going to be intensive, and we're just going to focus on chord voicing in a lot of different contexts. And we're going to talk about this. There's a misperception that people have about, well, I've done it this way in this medium, and now it must be something else in another medium. I've written it this way, but it's got to be different if it's for orchestra, if it's for strings. It's got to be different if we're going for other sections, which is exactly backwards, as we talked about in the orchestration classes. Nonetheless, that doesn't necessarily tell you exactly what to do. And so like I said, we're going to cover sort of the intricacies of moving from open voice to closed voice dynamics, and watching how those internal voices can accidentally pull a viewer's attention or a listener's attention from the focus, whatever that is, whether that's a melodic focus or a thematic focus or a structural focus. The internal voice motion, especially as it relates to open and voice chords and where those are in the ranges of various instruments, can either support or detract, and sometimes in surprisingly subtle ways that have nonetheless, marked impact on the final pieces. So as a chordal composer, I think chords first. The topic is actually really near and dear to my heart in a lot of ways, and I spent a lot of time learning to voice in a particular way that sounded like what I wanted it to sound like and expressed what I wanted to express, and still had all of the internal voice motion and focus control that I was seeking in orchestration. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be kind of dense. Will some of the class chord voicings be section specific? We can certainly talk about that. We can talk about how that translates. But again, where the orchestration component of it seems to be a force multiplier, a complexity multiplier that really shouldn't be. Because the truth is, the orchestration should follow the chords. The chords and the voicings and the ranges that we choose, that's your piece. And in fact, one of the things we're going to be doing is the examples tomorrow night is we're going to be talking about some big orchestral pieces that we know and what it was like for the composer to write them when you can't play them. And where were they working that out? Where on the piano, and what were those voicings during the composition process that let them know it's the sound they wanted? It's full enough, or it's rich enough, or it's going to be grandiose enough without needing four hands or any of that other stuff. So we're going to actually do a little of that. And then we're actually going to do, and some portion of it too, as we go through the chords, is going to be ear training stuff, where I'm just going to take you through a couple right to wrong, to right to better, to right to really good, to right to and just help train you a little bit on voice motion from point A to point B. That's because unless you've seen it, you might stumble upon it in experimenting. But I want to actually lead you there a few ways, so that you can see how devious and insidious it can actually be. So it's a pretty dense topic that way. Somebody was saying here, dense as jazz. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about jazz, because jazz, jazz piano especially is where you really learn efficient chord voice motion, because you're sort of freed of having to cover the bass parts. That's the thing about comping chords. You get to use both hands just for the chords, and you internalize the bass notes, or listen to somebody else play them. We're so stuck in the usual progressions, though. Well, the truth is, the basic progressions decorated different ways and voiced different ways can sound completely different. You can do a very Williams-esque stacking of a major seventh. You can do this, and it's a major seventh. You just can't miss it. Just can't miss it. But by the same token, if you spread that out, it's got a very different quality to it. And that's simply a voicing change. You can do that too. You can actually put the seventh on top. And the voicing itself seems to bring a very different quality to it that makes the progression feel less stale and obvious and predictable. Again, another thing we're going to talk about, the ways in which the density of chords and the voicings and open versus closed and the ranges that we do and how they're related to the tonic that's underneath them can do so much to signal what a chord is. And sometimes revoicing a chord can actually serve in its own sort of modulation sense. So very, very deep topic. Lots to talk about, actually. So it should be fun. I've seen parallel fifths and octaves and seven resolutions and classical shit that hasn't been useful unless you write boring harmony exercises from 19th century. I need this class. This is real voice leading. Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about a lot of it. So, if you haven't been to one of the master classes live, you should go live. Sign up for it. You can get it at mikeverta.com. in the master classes section, and it's a great time to ask questions. You can always watch the videos after the fact, but the advantage of being there live is you can say, wait, go back. What was that thing? And what about this? And it becomes it becomes one-on-one. The way it goes, there's never so many people that your questions get drowned out. It's always like, I don't know, our live streams, they're not big. They're like, 60, 100 people, something like that. They're not big. And lots of people are just watching, and some people are just watching to see how fucking hammered I get, so they're not even going to ask questions. But any kind of personal instruction, that's always better. So, but what I was really testing tonight was our setup. How's the mic and piano working? Piano just tuned. Sound good? Are you going to talk about non-conventional chord progressions, like those Williams polychords, very dissonant harmony, and how to use them? We can, because the Williams stuff. The voicings themselves still follow the same rules that we're going to be covering, and those rules are primarily based, like everything else in music composition should be based, on grabbing a listener and putting them in a familiar place and putting them in an unfamiliar place, and focusing with intent where exactly the attention should be. Knowing that we have only, you can't put 20 things on at one time, people can't follow them. But, just as an example, if you have a, if you have a chord that's voiced like that, is that piano working? And your next chord is this. I'll do this example tomorrow night. That's actually an open voice chord because you've skipped an A here. And that is not that's a closed voice chord. There are no voices between any of the chord tones. And so, in truth, that draws attention to itself in either a way that's good or bad, depending on whether you intended it to be so. But if that's truly just following a supportive role, you've taken one quality and you've made a change. And anytime you make a change, some part of the listener's brain will go to it. So the truth is that is actually a same thing down here. The difference between that and is actually quite profound from a voice leading sense. And all we've done is move where the B flat goes. But one of them preserves the open voice nature of it, and one of them closes it up. It's a very small move, and in some contexts you think, well, nobody's going to be able to hear that. In some contexts that's true, but if you underestimate the ability for an open thing to move to a close, that itself, that's very open, right? Staying in an open world, the ear can feel that, the brain can feel that. It can feel that those are following each other in a intervallically similar way, and it can feel that openness has closed up. It can feel it, and it draws attention to it. So, if as a focusing element, that may be something that you want to exploit, and or that may be something that you find is distracting. So, we're going to be talking about things like that. That's actually one very specific thing we're going to talk about. But like I said, chord voicing seems to be this sort of mysterious alchemy for a lot of people, and that's why we're going to do a master class on it. Again, if you've never seen a live one, show up, do one live one. I guarantee you'll do more because it's like one-on-one instruction. That's my advice. Tomorrow, while I talk about creating different thematic rhythmic ideas that maybe only voicings can help do the compositional process, not specifically, but the idea is that the voicings serve, if we're going to go down in the hierarchy, there's an emotional intent. There should always be an emotional intent for the music. It could be anything. I want to make grown men cry. I want to make women wet. I want people to dance. I don't care what it is, but you have a point. And then you go and you figure out what the harmonic and thematic and structural stuff is going to be to generate that particular reaction in your audience. And certainly, inside of your harmonies and tonalities, the way you serve them up makes all the difference. Again, another example we'll do is if you've decided that you want to be in the key of F, well, that's an F. It's an F major chord. So is that. Well, neither of them are probably saying the F that was in your mind, right? So the voicings itself, the ranges of them, similarly to this won't work either. That's not getting to the F that was probably in your mind, and so it's ultimately not going to serve the emotional goal that you want to get to. So that's why we need to look at really a foundational part of writing, and that will in itself serve whatever thematic or motivic idea you want to do. You know what I mean? The chords themselves as devices should be in service of something versus creating something, you know? So why was the last stream deleted off? So the last stream was deleted off YouTube because it was an accidental masterclass. We'd gone to do it on Vimeo. Vimeo wasn't streaming, or not Vimeo, Ustream, and Ustream wasn't streaming. It was a paid-for, password-protected masterclass like anything else. Couldn't get it to run, so I said, all right, we're going to YouTube. Everybody's going to get a free class. And there was so much. We were referencing so many 80s tunes that the entire video became nothing but YouTube flags, just copyright flags. The whole thing was like, ding, 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 all right. And I was going to get all strikes and fucked up, so I had to delete it. And so it's back. It's now where all the other master classes are. You can buy it. It was fun. It was good. A lot of people liked that class. Looked like you're feeling better. I guess the stone has passed. That stone has not passed. I've been in the emergency room twice since the last time we did a master class. It is now apparently right at the junction, ready to do its exit routine, its exit vector, has not done it. Still lots of Toradol, Vicodin in the house. If we can get through tomorrow night's class drug-free, that would be great. But yeah, man, this has been like, I still got my all my things from the IV, and the tape hasn't come off. You know, the tape, when they tape all that shit down. Rough week for my birthday, but we're good. We'll be good. You know, if I die at the piano during the master class, it's a good way to go, like anything else. So yeah. But we're also we also are just testing different mics. I have different mics set up for the piano now. When I had the piano tuned, I had the performance brightened up just a little bit. Put some slightly different mics in a different configuration, but I think it sounds okay. Yes? What do we think? Yeah, I kind of like. Which camera am I using? No, so we didn't have one of the great ones. We just rent the great ones because I can't justify dropping 15 grand for doing a masterclass every couple of months. That's just not. Cameras change too much. You rent them, and we went to rent them, it wasn't available, so we're just using a webcam. But my girl just took a few minutes to light it, see if we could make it look a little less ass than your average webcam, and I think we did okay. The quality, the Unleashed camera, that was just what was it, a C300? Yeah. C300, yeah, it was a great camera. It's a good camera, cinematic lenses, it's great, and we'll do them all that way at some point. I wanted to do them all like that. But then sometimes I sort of do these classes like, I look at my schedule, I can't do them, I'm busy, and then something opens up, I'm like, we should do a class. And in this case, it was too late, and, whatever. But somebody's saying hi to you, baby. I'm saying, great, where are you waving? Are you following? Oh, wait, are you following? Oh, okay, cool. All right. So yeah, like I said, definitely if you haven't caught a masterclass, catch tomorrow's chord voicing, because I think it's one of those places that I think everybody's got an issue with it, and it's because it blurs so many lines. It blurs lines between orchestration and composition and voice leading and a number of other things. And like I said, I don't like to compartmentalize, but I don't think it'll hurt us. Do I know when the woodwinds and strings live class will be? I love the brass one and can't wait for the other sections. So if you remember, in fact, Neil Desby, my conductor, and a lot of you guys know Neil. He called me today for my birthday. We were talking about it. He was like, "When are we doing that?" And I'm like, "I don't know," because we were going to do it. If you know the story, we were going to do it like I think it was in May or something, and we couldn't get the venue, or they wouldn't get. We were on hold, and they wouldn't get back to us. Something like that. What? They were waiting on a quote, and then suddenly it was like it was going to be June, but then I was gone, and then it was going to be July, and so I'm out of town a lot for a couple of gigs that I'm doing, and so it keeps getting pushed. And I was going to put it in August, I think, and I'm glad I didn't because I'm not going to be here again. I'd have to keep canceling it. Right now we're in the September, October, but one of the things I was telling Neil about that woodwinds class is that I have to write it. I have to write all the material for it, and I really want to demonstrate the truth. I want to demonstrate the fact that woodwinds are absolutely as powerful and potent and relevant today as they ever were. There was no reason to shit can the entire section or relegate it to aleatoric stuff and runs. It can do pads, it can do ostinatos, it can free up colors and give us like a million opportunities, make writing a lot easier. And now that nobody uses them hardly, you can actually sound fresh again with them. But one of my goals for that is to write pieces that truly demonstrate woodwinds capable of hanging in modern contexts in just ways that just people aren't doing, and sort of treating it like it's hostile territory, like it's a hostile audience that inherently has an irrational bias against woodwinds. So the material has to be really carefully crafted and constructed, and that takes time. So I need a couple of weeks, I'd say, to really write 3 hours worth of material. That'll do all that. And then we need to do it. But that's probably where we're talking about it. Somebody says the passwords haven't been sent. I haven't sent the passwords yet. You'll get them. Don't worry. There have actually been a bunch of orders for chord voicing coming in just today. So I thought, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes people sign up late, which again, sign up. If you haven't been to a live class, try chord voicing. It's going to be a useful one and a dense one. So yeah. Take my money, I'm in. No, you're always in. I appreciate that. Using wins a ton. Good. European drama short film works perfectly. Great. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. Yeah.
Could you just say where to sign up? Because somebody was asking.
Where to sign up? MikeVerta.com, masterclasses. You'll see it. I took everything else down off the website. There's only the masterclasses now. It's like it's a real lowbrow website. So you just go there and there's nothing. It's like, well, I'll click on masterclasses and it's a simple little web store. I'll buy that one. It's like it doesn't need to be more than that right now. Although things are coming. Things are coming. A couple of things are coming. One big thing eventually is coming. What's that?
I think I was hearing about that for the first time today.
Oh yeah, a few things. Yeah. Yeah, and I've been thinking about doing a master class. I don't know, on some basic piano stuff. Tell us what's coming. I don't know. Well, should I tell them about the app?
General concept that you're excited about exploring.
I'm developing an app. Oh, not another app. Oh, this is a good app. This one's good. It's a good app. Little subscription app, real cheap, but an app. An app. What app? It's going to be an app. It's oh damn it! I don't really want to talk about it yet. It's being fleshed out. It's not been coded yet.
Just imagine if Mike in your pocket.
Right. It's just me with you
right
all the
there
time. Just
in your
up your
jeans.
ass all day. Me up your ass. And maybe we'll call it Mike.
You just have them in the bathroom with you.
Yeah. It's just never, it's just endless Mike.
At the bar.
But, yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a real thing. It's a thing. I shouldn't talk about it. I shouldn't have even said anything. But yes, it's going to be a thing. It's like all kinds of shit, just a fucking fire hose. So the truth is that in terms of, the content that I put on, people know I don't develop my YouTube channel. I don't develop my Instagram. I don't develop my Facebook. I don't develop my Twitter. I don't do any of those things. I don't do any of those things because they're douchebag bullshit platforms of distribution over which artists have no control in any way. You have no control over what happens to our content. We have no control over where they get put in the magic algorithm. Monetization, they can turn it on, they can turn it off. There's censorship, wrong think, fucking evil mind control things. We all know that. It's just that most of the time you figure, well, they're not censoring me, so who gives a fuck? I've had my shit shut off on every major platform at least twice. So try that sometime, just one day. No, I don't like, I don't like what you have to say, so turn it off. So there's so I don't actually post but a fraction of the stuff that is normally spewing out of the brain carnival. Stuff about music and about the business and about deals and specific stories or helpful things or a million music tips. Life, all kinds of stuff that just doesn't get out. And, when I gear up to go, I think of a music thing and I'm like, you know what, I should tell people about this. And I start setting up the camera and I start thinking about YouTube and fuck YouTube, fuck that. And I don't do it. So in the end, it's like, well, if I had a place, where every single thing that I was going to put out was mine to control, which means it would just be all of it and raw, and I don't have to worry about anybody turning it off or putting ads on it or, labeling things they don't like hate speech so they can justify censoring it. If I just my own fucking hose, my own internet, my own inner tube. Maybe call it inner tube. Mike's tubes. Just my own fucking tube. There'll be 10 billion times more useful shit out there for people to get to. So that's ultimately the thing behind it. So it's music stuff, it's visual effects stuff, and filmmaking stuff, and it's all the stuff that goes on with homeschooling and my son, and there's a lot of stuff that's there. And when you're a content creator, as we are, it's our job to put out content. That's our job. And YouTube and these places, these essentially free places, come with a price, which is that you didn't get to negotiate the deal. So the deal sucks on ice. And can change at any time, and does frequently. You just get an email. Yeah, by the way, all the terms are different.
By the way, we deleted all your stuff.
Yeah, by the way, all your stuff's gone. Oh, that went away. No, that's all gone now. It's a new thing now. Where's my stuff? Your stuff isn't there anymore. You know what I mean? Like that's not a distribution network. That's not a deal. So you just keep that in perspective. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So isn't that what your own website is for? So a website, is, a perfectly fine repository for composers as a place to have centralized music. The advantage or upside of social media is the real-time, quasi-connected sense of it. Here comes an idea. Here comes its generation. Some are more polished, some are off the cuff. That's what Insta stories and other things are about. Of course, Insta stories don't last, but because nothing you have to say is worth remembering anyway, I guess. So, but the idea is that if you have a link to a stream, and you can choose, no, I don't want to hear about these things, but I do want to hear about these things. And then you get the sense, then you get to be part of that conversation, a real-time, organic and community-like conversation, but without any of the drawbacks of the large format distribution platforms. So And for what is essentially niche, I'm a niche content provider. I'm not trying to dragnet and get every human being in the world to watch my channel. That's not my model in business either. My model in business is to go with the people who can afford what I want to charge and want me to do exactly what I want to do. They don't want to tell me what to do. They want me to do what I do. That's targeted marketing, which is harder, but now easier because we're all connected. But then that's your people. So it's the same thing with social media. Here's all of the stuff you're looking for and none of the stuff you're not, and it's you and I directly in contact. And it's all the time that I'm thinking of stuff, which is all the time. So, and then you can just decide how often you interact with it. But whereas a website tends to be like, here's a packaged summation of a thing, and all the social media stuff is all disparate. You follow on this person and follow it over here and follow it over here. Instead, this is all one stuff. There's Twitter-like stuff, there's Instagram-like stuff, there are videos, there are master classes, there are helpful hints, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And you can decide how much or how little you interact with, but you get the very organic and social media sense that it's live and it's happening and you can interact with it. So, so the app is for subscription and getting notified. Plus community, yeah. You'll see, it's more though. There's also a place for that medium that nothing else is really the place for. I mean, your Twitter is you have something to say, but you got to do it in a couple hundred characters. Well, sometimes you have more than that to say, but it's not a blog post. It's a thing, and sometimes it's too long to type it. You want to be able to say it. Now it's a podcast. But it's not a very long podcast. It's a micro podcast. Or maybe it is a long podcast. Or maybe it's a video. Or maybe it's hold on, here, I'm going to pull up the piano and let me do a thing that would normally go on YouTube, but YouTube will flag it because I got to play 5 seconds from Star Wars in it. Well, fuck that. Now you can listen to the 5 seconds of Star Wars and get it. It's better quality, and you can put your comments right there. And I don't give a fuck if it's got views or likes, because that's not what it's about. It's about just, look, here's what I have to say. And for any content creator, if you have a subscription service that costs some money, right away you find out whether your shit is worth paying for. And if it's not, you're in trouble. Or you need to work on your content. I like to sell stuff at impulse buy prices for poor ass musicians because I can still remember sleeping in my car. And I just don't like the idea that education, and experience and wisdom has to be like always fucking expensive. It's like a little pay it forward, but it's important to me. So if you're putting out content as a professional content creator and it's at some like total lose it in the couch money price and people won't pay for it, that's the biggest reality check about how worthless your content is. If somebody says, oh yeah, I'll listen to his music, I mean, as long as it's free, I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not going to pay $1, not a penny for it. But if it's free, I'll like it, then that's as good as them saying it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? They don't value it, literally don't value it. And you can either say that's because I'm going after the wrong people, they don't like my shit, or it's like because my stuff isn't good enough to be worth it. Either way, I think that's I think that the moment of truth of monetization of your product as a content creator is hugely important. To be a professional content creator. Keep your lights on. But that's hard enough as it is without fucking Google deciding how much you're going to get from moment to moment and not even telling you about it. You have no idea what's going on. They just go, oh, that guy's conservative, so fuck him, he's not making any money. And then when they ask us for the records, it'll take 16 months to get them, and we'll put on whatever we want. What are you going to do? Probably says in your agreement, you have no right to any of that shit anyway. So, so wouldn't you think that social media should be used to grab your public into your website so you can format the media of your choosing, say a blog or video? No, because social media is a fucking fire hose of useless shit, and that's why they have to develop algorithms to filter 99% of it out and then put all the promoted shit in your face. That thing is way overcrowded, and you don't know that you're reaching your people at all. And the truth is, especially with my kind of thing, everybody who needs to know about it knows about it, and the people who need to know about it find it. If you look at the growth rate of my brand, It's real steady and real modest. There's no like, it's never going to be the like thing because because it's not, I'm not backed by the Disney Channel and I'm not trying to grab everybody. I'm trying to get exactly the people who really want to get better in all of these other ways. So, so yeah. So no, the website, and also too, a website is it's just also got funk around it now. People just aren't that into websites. They like the streamlined app experience, and this one, part of the UI on it is designed to be real fast and no bullshitty and easy to get to the information you want with the search engine of all search engines. That's like one of my biggest things. You can search for a word, anything, like that thing on John Williams, and get to the shit you want. And it's all right there, and it'll always be there. And so, yeah. Also, every movement you make offends someone. It sucks. Well, that's with 7.5 billion people on the planet, literally everything offends a large number of people, just not a significant percentage of people. And the percentages are really what you need to worry about. If 10 million people hate you, that's not a big number. It's not. You have to take that against 7.6 billion. It's not a huge percentage. 10 million people in the room who hate you is a lot of people to have in the fucking house hating you. But the percentage against the whole, 10 million, not a lot. So, that's just basic statistics of one. So make sure you come to Chord Voicing. And ask all the questions that you want to ask live. Definitely worth your time. And I think I may start preceding some of the master classes just with the reminders on YouTube. That's what YouTube is good for, is reminding people that, there are way worse ways to spend your hard-earned $30 than seriously leveling up your control and being able to control your destiny as a composer. I think that's true whether you do it professionally or not, because everyone wants to be able to decide that people will like their music and know that they will. But, if there are, while you have time, if there are other things that you think you might like covered in the class tomorrow night, let me know. I like to keep them sort of organic. I always have a list of things I want to cover and specific techniques that I want to talk about and analogies I've thought through a little bit. But if it seems like everyone wants a certain thing and they're asking questions for it, then I'll adapt. Again, the advantage of being there for live. I make it. I will be back from work around 20 LA time. Okay, that's an hour into it. It's okay. Of course you can ask. Ask questions. On the day of, I don't always get a chance to check email because we're doing show prep, but I try. And of course, always people wait till like 5 minutes before the show and they start buying it, and I'm like trying to send them the code. Like, don't buy it now. I'm literally on the piano. Yeah, but when we do our Unleashed classes, we get a bunch of people on YouTube watching and asking for the feedback. And, that's a marathon, and it's fun, and it's cool to, hear how other people make mistakes. And it's nice to do the occasional class on YouTube, I think, just to let other people get an idea for how deep you can get with this stuff. But again, I don't like putting content up in places I don't have any control over it. I might not make it. My son was due on Monday. Oh, he's coming. He's coming. And when he comes here, your whole life is going to change. No matter, is it your first? Is it your first or second or third? And this is for John, whose kid is due. I want to know if it's his first. Your first kid. That's cool. Yeah, like I said, parents say, and it's sort of annoying, that you can't possibly know what it's like to have a kid until you do, and that's true. But especially for fathers, mothers have had something biologically going on in their bodies for 9 months. And so fathers don't, until the moment arrives, don't get to feel the program start running. And it's a cool thing, because nature will wake up and be like, hey, and suddenly you'll be like on board, and your whole perspective on everything will change. Really cool. Right, everything's changing, isn't even here yet. That's true. Congratulations. Yeah, my son is 8. We'll be turning, I can't believe it, 9 in September. Speaking of which, hey, Draco, you still watching Jackie Chan? Oh, yeah? Run that shower water, buddy. It's best. It's the best thing ever in the whole world. It was my birthday. People were like, what do you want? I'm like, I have everything I need. Father's Day, that is everything I need. Got it. There's nothing scary, man. Nothing scary. It's best ever. Best ever. But, I'm really glad. I was 38 when I had Draco. Not a second sooner. For me. Hey, Mike, I've been having this thought recently. Why, in your opinion, is there a minimum standard level as, say, a visual effects artist or concept artist, but in music it's not exactly that clear? It's a good question. In some ways, there's a similar sort of entropy going on in that world too. If you actually look, a lot of visual effects in films today, especially if you get away from them for any period of time, a large number of shots in huge films today suck, and they're obviously CG, like really obviously CG, and in fact, some films. They just look like cut scenes, and the audience's expectation for them to be otherwise has been eroded, so they don't care and don't feel cheated, even though it's a violation of what used to be one of the foundational commandments for visual effects. Is people shouldn't be looking at the visual effect; it should essentially be invisible. And then after a while, when that became untenable because you can't make 2,000 shots in a film all look photoreal, then it sort of got repackaged into like hey, great effects. It's like, yeah, but you're only supposed to know that because it couldn't be real, but not because it looks like a fucking cartoon. And half the time it does now. I was watching some clip for like the new Spider-Man movie, and I'm like, that's a video game, that doesn't even count. That's like an animatic that got put on a fucking, how's that passing muster? Half the shit in Avengers is just like, ow, yikes. It's just, so that's actually is happening, and people's standards are going down. It's just that with music, especially, the education for music has been going down, whereas the education in visual complexity has been going up. People are getting inundated with more and more visual stuff, more and more complex visual stuff, and they're becoming more and more educated. Their minimum expectation is going up. And music is getting worse and worse and worse, and it's going like this, and so their expectation is getting low. And so it's at the point where they no longer feel robbed or cheated by the fact that they go and hear a piece of music and they can't sing it, and they can't hum it, and they can't carry it around with them, and they don't, oh, I love the music for that. Oh yeah, how did it go? Well, I can't sing it. I mean, I can't, you can't sing any of it. Well, I can't. Oh, okay. That's horrible. That's depressing, That's very much outside of the definition of music in a lot of ways. So I was talking to Draco about this the other day, that Happy Birthday is one of those songs that purely exists because of its transportability. Somebody teaches it to you by singing it to you, and then you know it, and then you sing it for the rest of your life. And you've never heard like the recording of it, like the real one. It's not from anything. You learn to sing it. Everybody teaches each other, happy birthday to you, and they all sing it. They can't sing it anymore because there's no music education. But so you now go, it's just this haunted choir of happy birthday to you. It's just the worst when you go to restaurants now. But the point is that when you do learn it, you learn it from somebody, and that you can sing it. And now it's yours. You can carry it around, and you can give it to your kid later. And so when people say they love the music above it, but they can't remember a single thing of it, that's like, and you don't feel cheated by that. Well, no, because I don't have the expectation for it to be otherwise. Is there another option? Yeah, there was a time that you could get all people my age together and we could just sing bubblegum commercials for a solid hour, and cartoons. We could sing shows that are in us and part of us for all night. We could just do that. We could play Name That Tune, was actually a game show we had. And they would sing just a couple of notes and people could tell you what song it is. And then now you have, all this music and people can't sing it. And goes, well, I can't. That's depressing. But if that's if that's all you know, then there's not an expectation. It's like what you know. You don't have an expectation for it to be otherwise. Like we don't have an expectation for things that we buy to last. That's no longer a thing. Whereas our great grandparents would not have put up with that shit. They'd have been like, this thing is made like shit. This is going to break in a couple of years. And that's why you can buy things made in the 20s and with a little bit of, rust remover and some oil, half the shit still works today like it was brand new. Fucking made it like, yeah, man, if I'm going to make it, it's going to fucking last. You're going to spend your hard-earned money on it. You're lucky you survived the war. You're going to spend your hard-earned money. That shit's going to be solid and it's going to work and you can count on it and it's got my name on it and that you're worth it. And now it's just like plastic, disposable Chinese crap that's designed to break in 3 months. And and you're like, well, I guess I need a new one. That's another $1,100. And we just don't have the expectation that we deserve more than that. So it's not going to be that. You think some fucking business guy counting pennies at the quarter is going to do it for, for the principle of it? Fuck that. No, they'll keep eating this shit. That's just how it goes. It's like, can you believe these flimsy fucking clothes that these third world people are making? They're like Kleenex. Here, go to Forever 21. It's $5. It'll last 3 minutes. You know, it's like it's a, you know, don't shake it too hard. It'll just vaporize. And people are like, this is great. That's so cute. And there's just no expectation for them to have it be of quality. What's up, pal? Hi, I'm on the air. Do you want to come be on the air?
Well, I gotta take a shower.
Okay, we'll go take a shower and then you can be on the air. So anyway, so yeah. Hi, Mike. I'm an aspiring jazz, funk, and film composer. Cool. How do you feel about professional sample libraries? You know, I mean, you know, in the hands of somebody who knows how to write and orchestrate, they're good tools. If you don't, it's the bane of all the live players' existences. And they're also beaten. It's like they've been on the Tan Death March for so long that they're just like, okay. And people come in and they're like, try to get live players to play like the samples. But the people using the samples have never worked with live players, so they have no idea how to actually do it. So it's this totally like counterintuitive, non-musical thing. And so they think they're just hiring instruments to get like better samples, but the music isn't musical and it's not normal. And so the players fucking hate it and want to open a vein, but the money's good, so they're still showing up for the gigs. That's why I've been doing the live master classes, or why I've done at least one, so that people can learn the difference. Like if you're going to write on samples, why don't you at least learn how to write for the real thing? And then your samples will sound fucking great because you'll know this is not about the sound. The sound doesn't matter. It's the performance. The average person couldn't tell the sampled trumpets from 10 years ago. The sound, they can't tell. They can tell the performance and the expression. And you don't know how to do that unless you know how to do that. I mean, if you know how to write for a trumpet, then when you get a trumpet sample, you're like, it's got to do this because that's what a trumpet does. And then you perform it that way, and then it's emotionally more convincing. So the things in themselves are just tools. There's nothing wrong with a tool. Nothing wrong with a tool. But, you know, all the sample libraries in the world don't make a good composer or a good orchestrator. And I don't need any sample libraries. I can take a piano and out-orchestrate somebody who's never learned to orchestrate. That's not like some magic trick. It's just because I've been trained and they haven't. So, but it's, you know, in the right environment and in the right hands and in the right context, fantastic tools, fantastic. It's just like nonlinear editors. If you know how to edit, Avid or Premiere, great. If you don't know how to edit, you're not an editor just because you can Control Z your last 15,000 attempts. I would love a masterclass on recording strings. Not only manage the session musician's director, but also how to mic mix. So that would be a big class. And that is the plan, right? We would do brass, woodwinds. Then we would do brass, woodwinds, and percussion. That would be a combined group. The old TV orchestras, tons of TV shows use that. And then the giant, huge, expensive 60-piece string section or whatever. And then the orchestra, the whole thing. That would be the goal. But again, too, when it comes to recording strings, you know, if we have Sean Murphy come in or somebody else do it, you know, ultimately, you know, that's not like, oh, you need all these plugins and all these things. It's really about a couple of choice mics and a couple of good positions, and then letting the instruments do what they do. That's why I like recording strings or orchestras, because there's no just put the faders up and walk away. That's it. I'll handle the balance, the real balance in the room. It's not like, you know, and that's why it gets frustrating for them when they are asked to match mock-ups that aren't real, because the balances don't make any sense, and it fucks up everything. Phase gets all weirded out, and they got to stripe all the sections, which musicians hate with the burning passion fire of 1,000 suns, you know, in order to try to get these bullshit balances to work. So, you know, again, if that's a choice, fine. It's not usually a choice. That's usually gone that way because of ignorance. And so that's what we're fighting. Know what you're doing so that it's a choice. You know what I mean? Sorry for this shit query, but I can't seem to get a reset password email. Okay, I can ask the dude about that. I'm not that guy for that. Like, the website's got I all but just have a red phone that I call, and like, they say something broken on website, and then it all gets fixed. Yeah, somebody says that the challenge is to make it sound realistic. Nope, the challenge is to make it expressive. The sound is not. Everybody focuses on the sound because that's the easy part. And they go, oh, I patch it this way, I do it that way. never ever lost a gig that I had to do virtually because my orchestra was the best sounding one. In fact, it's not. Usually my virtual orchestras are not that great, but they perform way better because I know how to perform it. Focus on the performance, the musical, expressive performance of your samples. That's where your energy goes. You could take, I've done this, you can take the samples and make them mono and roll off the highs and the bottoms and make them and it'll sound fucking great if the music and the expression is great. There's actually, I think, examples of that of mine on my YouTube channel here somewhere. I had to do this thing. It was like a retro 60s thing. It was all mono and shitty recorded. But just like there were orchestral recordings from 150 years ago or whatever that are all like this, but the fucking recordings are great, yeah, because it's not the sound. It's the fucking music. It's the expression, the performance, the phrasing. That's where your energy goes. That's where it goes. That's the part that you can't cheat. That's the part that you can't get around without decades of practice. That's why people don't want to do it. They want to buy plugins and filters and libraries and they just all day spending all this money, thinking, okay, well, that sounds really real. Yeah, well, if the only thing you're having your horn sound do is I guess it's not going to be hard to get that sound to sound like, just get 61 horn people in a room to record that, and then just get your violin people to go, and then you got your Avengers. Okay, great. That sounds really realistic. But that music's all just disposable fart in the wind stuff, which is cool sounding and totally works and is fine, and also it's just like gone. It's just, you can't sing it, you can't carry it with you, they all sound the same, it's all disposable. So, stay focused on the music, and then you can have the best of both worlds. You can have all that cool shit, but it actually goes places, and then you can write expressively for instruments. Don't worry about the sound. Worry about the music. So, what are some of the nasty effects that emerge in recording scenarios that force them to stripe? There are nothing that forces them to stripe except incompetence. That and blazing, overwhelming percussion. Those are the only things that force striping. And then usually they just sequester the percussionists. There's no forcing stripe. There's 100 years plus, there was no striping. None of that. Musicians cannot stand it. They're trained to work together in a group, like a team, to listen to each other, to feed off each other, to control their balances relative to each other. They know what the goal is after the first pass or two, and they're watching the conductor like, oh, it's this piece. Oh, I got the solo here. Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, it's a little romantic. So we're going to vibrato a little bit more. Did you get me? I feel you. They're looking at the concert master. He's like, we're going to push it a little bit here. We're going to work this together. This is what we do. And it becomes a piece, And then, and then you pull them all apart. And it's like, it's like having six people that you need to fuck your girlfriend. It takes 6 people. The coordination is, first of all, you need 6 people? Second of all, you can't work it out. It's like, okay, now you go. Okay, now you go. All right, no, that wasn't fast enough. Now you go. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. You're welcome to try, but it's not going to work. Trust me. So it's for total douchebags, and musicians loathe and despise all people who do it. And they said so, as much as they'll ever say so in my Brass Live Masterclass. They really said so at the after party. But they hate that. That's the antithesis of everything they got into music for. And you might as well just put a douche hat on for the entire session if you stripe. That's just a little tip from Uncle Bourbon to you. So let's see. Oh, people are having their stuff. Let's see. Mad that Alan Silvestri did that new Avengers soundtrack. Do you still rate him as a composer these days? I haven't heard the new Alan Silvestri stuff. Kudos to the guy for fucking hanging in there, not just giving the fucking finger to the entire thing. But also, remember, it's like John Williams music is nothing like John Williams music 40 years ago. And it's not just because the dude is fucking ancient and should be left alone. Just let him golf and stop asking him to write Star Wars, will you? But anyway, the point is, he's a different dude, but the films aren't made the same way. In fact, that one quality that he did better than anybody in his prime, where the scenes were woven together and the transitions became part of one long balletic symphonic structure. They weren't scenes, they were just movements in a long, you could just play the whole movie out. And it was like Peter and the Wolf. Well, in order for that to work, the picture has to be cut that way and locked. And given to him locked. So the timings are what they are, and he can go right from that line to the twist, and now we're into the next moment. And now they're not done that way. They're all done in pieces, and he's writing, and it's all like music edited, and there's animatics in there, and they chop it up. Oh, yeah, we took 68 frames out of that. You can't just do that. So then the music just becomes these little snippets, and it loses its cohesiveness. So that's why even the Williams music today it has nothing in common with what structurally makes all those original Star Wars films so great, and Raiders and Jaws and all those. They're balletic-like symphonies in structure. And the films were made that way. So you're Alan Silvestri today and you're doing Avengers, you can't even do what you did on Back to the Future. It's not even made like that. The films aren't made like that. They got like 12 acts now instead of 3-act structure. The director doesn't like have 30 years of experience and anything to say. That's a fucking hard gig. You can have all the skill, but the film isn't there. And plus they're just, they're playing you all these temp tracks. Here, make it sound like Pirates of the Caribbean. Ah, fuck. It's a rough gig, so kudos to him for hanging in there. This reminds me of what Robert Greene says in his book Mastery, fantastic book on craft and mastery and how modern society settled on bad quality and why. Yeah, I'm sure, I'm not a fucking genius for noticing the obvious. I happen to be on the front lines of it because I do this professionally. But you also, the difference is you can make your industry or your world whatever you want to be. And I tell young composers this all the time. If your goal is to write for games, if your goal is to write for films, then you're going to do whatever you're told to do. Whatever that industry has decided, I guess you're just going to bite a towel and deal with it. Because that's more important to you than working with great people on great projects where they really value you and pay you what you're worth. That's a totally different goal. Might not be in films at all. Might have to be somewhere else. You might have to go and find that instead of it being conveniently located in the city of Los Angeles. But what do you want for your life? You know what I mean? It's your choice. Just whatever you want. I told the whole thing to go take a flying fuck a long time ago because I wanted to be a film composer from the time I was 5. But then I learned, no, I wanted to be a film composer writing the kind of music that I loved growing up on, watching the kind of films that they don't make anymore. So they don't write that music and they don't make those films. So I didn't want to write film music anymore. It went away by itself. It was like, I don't even go to movies anymore. They're fucking Film 101 failures. So I go and work on films now that are still made old school by people, and it doesn't matter where they are in the world. I work for people all over the world, but they're making those kinds of films. And when they come to me, they're like, we just want you to do what you do. And I'm like, okay, well, here's what it's going to cost. And they're like, yes. I'm like, we are friends. I will write you the musics. So, I remember the brass players applauded when you made your comment about striping in that class. Yeah, they fucking hate striping. What is this stream? This stream is just my occasionally on YouTube stream. You've seen YouTube has stuff on it from time to time, but I was testing my setup for tomorrow's live masterclass on chord voicing, which you should go to. You should be a part of it. MikeVerta.com/masterclasses. Look up chord voicing because you need to learn more about chord voicing, and I bet I can teach you a thing or two. 2 things, in fact. It's exactly as many as I could teach you. And no, but it's a class that people have asked for, and it'll be fun and useful. And if you've never been to a live class, I've said this, you should be there because it's like one-on-one. There's never that many people there, so you can ask questions, your specific questions, and get your specific... My dude's not running out naked, is he?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think anyone's naked.
Good.
Yet.
I wasn't aware how well your thoughts could be interpreted in artsy show, gymnastic, dance. Are you doing stuff? Are you doing dance stuff?
I'm just stretching.
Oh, you're stretching? Okay.
It's not really, fancy, but it's slow.
Oh, it's slow and dancey? Yeah, okay. I'm inspired by John Barry, Bob James, Lalo Schifrin. I listen to a lot of retro music libraries. That 60s brass, jazz, cop show, spy sound. Do you have tips in this particular style? Well, my tips are transcribe the shit out of it. Write it, play it, learn to write in that style. We talked about this in the So 80s class a couple weeks ago, about the importance as a composer of being able to emulate pretty much any style. Certainly you should be able to go back over the last 100 years and by decade be able to play music. This is in the 1910s, this is in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and be able to crib and to condense those rich decades into a couple of impressions quickly that plug you into the musical legacy that we have, because these things build on each other, and so when you love a thing, I say go in all the way. Go in and really learn to write that way from a place that transcends, the pastiche, that transcends just doing an impression of it, to starting to get yourself so in the vibe that you're like, I get where they were coming from. And now you could speak your own words through your own voice, in that aesthetic. And so specific technique stuff, as you start to do your detective work and your forensic work and break it down, man, look at these voicings were always this sort of way, these chord transitions, these sorts of things. That part of that discovery is part of what makes you get to the understanding of it and through the just copying of it. Because that's what happens when people start, they just copy things and they just redo them and plagiarize them because, it's like an impressionist who can only say things that the person actually said. That's like the first level of impression, is they learn to, they pick up the thing that the guy actually said and they try to say it back, you diddy motherfucker, you, and it's not Joe Pesci yet. They keep working on it, and then, tell me. And then eventually they get the voice and they figure out where it comes from, and now they can say anything in Joe Pesci's voice, unlike me. So the point is that it's the same thing with music. You start and you just start stealing licks, and then but you look at it, and pretty soon your brain will figure out through transcription and through analysis what those actual patterns are, and you'd be like, you know what? So if they were going to write this, it would probably be like this, and it would probably be like this, and that's just the doing of it. Transcribe the shit out of it. What's the best way to transcribe? Somebody give them a video. I got a thing on it here. There's a video. Somebody send them a link. It's on my channel somewhere. What transcribing looks like. It's real easy. You listen. The whole video here is on it, including one, I think, of my little 8-year-old transcribing. What were you transcribing, Draco? Was it Tron? I think it was Tron. But it's really easy, and it's or it's not easy, but it's very straightforward, and you get a little piece of software. I usually recommend Transcribe, and you watch the video on it. Somebody give them the link to that. Any chance tomorrow's session we'll go over section voicings? That was asked a little bit, but as we talked about, section voicings aren't anything in particular. They follow the voicings itself, and those voicing choices are made. Those are emotional choices and focus choices. Those are dramatic choices. On the most broad sense, when and why you would move from open to closed voicings, when and why you would move from areas where the chord tonality is more obscure than in other places. It can get that's a B flat major chord, real obscure tonality. Why would you be voicing it that way? We did an example earlier of the sort of classic Williams major seventh as being that voicing has a whole thing to it, which just revoiced seems almost like it's a different thing. So those choices, how and why we make them, and making them intent-based is what we'll be talking about. That ripples naturally into how we use them in the sections, but it's a little cart before the horse to think about how do we write for the sections? No. How do you voice the chords and then decide which sections will best realize that voicing? You can write on the piano. You don't need any other instruments. It says everything. And you don't need 16 hands to write orchestral music. All great orchestral music, the biggest, hugest, giantest pieces you can ever think of can be played with 2 hands on the piano, and that's usually how they were written. And we'll actually be doing some examples of that to show how you sort of do that, how you voice. So yeah, we'll be doing all that stuff. So. How you doing, buddy?
How are you?
I'm good. How was your shower? So chord voicing tomorrow with this setup, basically, this whole thing. The new the mics were previously under the piano. They are now above them, about foot off, 3 feet apart. Little stereo spread. I've been transcribing for orchestra for a couple of years. Very difficult game pieces, but sometimes can't get what happens with the woodwinds and the recordings. Too much reverb, especially in JP. Well, okay. It's actually extremely weird that this class is coming up. I was just talking to my friends about how the older I get, the more I feel like conversions are not simply the same chords often. So in regards to this thing about transcribing for an orchestra, what happens in more complex pieces with orchestral stuff especially is that after a while you start realizing what a thing would be. You're like, I can't really hear it, but I can tell. It's like it's like you're reading, it says A, B, C, D, H, I, J, K, and you're like, I know what that's going to be because it's not going to have been some crazy thing. It's going to be H, I, J. It's going to be right there. And you fill in the gaps because of what it would be. And the more experience that you have, especially stylistically, aesthetically, what in the blue, what are you guys doing? Don't play baseball. Well, I guess you can. It's not a real show. If you play an F major in person version, in first inversion, I think you meant, in the tonality of a minor, it is simply not the same chord or function, or feeling is not major chord and root procedure. Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And that goes into a lot of the voice leading stuff, which actually we'll actually come to. How a chord can play a ton of different roles. We talked about that in a couple of the master classes too, about just playing, bass note tricks essentially to get you to consider that any motion is a possible motion. Even any chromatic motion can be justified. There's a context for it, and it's your burden or job to find it. I was writing this piece, that led to an F sharp major. It was what was it? And the tonic was still B flat, and I was just on F. And, F sharp, and there's always this temptation to get back down to the... But, sometimes it was just like, it just worked. It was like, well, we're going for F sharp to B flat. We're going to use the sharp 5, the flat 6 to 1. That works in a lot of contexts. But it's important to, through experimentation and through, working with, but freeing yourself from rigid tonalities, that you realize, well, look, it's either those dissonances are either satisfying in the way they resolve or they don't. And if you actually start to break down why, you're like, oh, okay, I see why that works. It works for the same reason that, D flat. So, and yet somewhere in your brain, that's a thing when it's not. It's just a context change. False bass notes too many things to learn. I need 3 lifetimes or more. You really don't, although you do need patience because, like I said, I try not to play down the fact that I've been doing this for the better part of 40 years. Wow, almost that. See, I started when I was 5, and I was working on it when I was 5. 42 years, yeah. Yeah, it's 42, yeah. 42 years that I've been consciously working on how to write music. You know, and so you gotta just slow down. It'll take time, and I'm learning shit every day, and every day things that escaped me forever will suddenly show up as obvious, and then things that I've still never figured out, So, so nice to have this piano tuned. Yeah. Take your time. It takes time. Be patient and realize that, half of writing music or more is the person that you are and the life experiences that you have. You can study your scales and you can study your modes for whatever that's worth, and you can transcribe and you can do all this stuff, but boring people don't write interesting music. And people who have no philosophy and no life experience and nothing to say, you will inevitably hit the brick wall of relevance, and sooner rather than later. And that makes the challenge already that much more challenging. And it's amazing how many little things, simple things, base things are not taught to musicians from an early age. I have a little friend that that is learning to. He's a son of a drummer. A friend of mine is a drummer, and yet his father isn't insisting that the kid plays with a drum machine or a metronome, which is weird to me. And so the kid's in a place where he's learning these pieces. Crazy man, learning these pieces, and they don't have any groove or pocket, and that's going to be something that needs to get corrected later rather than putting in right from day one. Rhythm exercises, stuff like that. Draco is what he's been learning about music. He's been learning the formulas because it makes it a lot simpler. If you learn the formula for constructing a major scale, then you only have to learn one thing, and now you can play all the major scales versus having to learn 12 major scales. And he learns the formula. Draco, come up here.
What?
Come over here.
Why?
Well, actually, don't even come up here. What are the notes in a C augmented chord?
C augmented?
Yeah.
C, E, G sharp.
Right. So rather than have to memorize the notes in a C augmented chord, he knows the formula for constructing it. And suddenly it's a fraction as difficult. How about a F sus2?
F sus 2. Think F. Hold on. F major is F, G sharp.
F major?
Yeah. F major is F, G sharp,
Mm-hmm.
and then C.
Why don't you play F major? Play that.
F major?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that minor?
Oh, might be.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's sus 2.
Yeah.
That's sus 2. Then what would be major?
You tell me. There you go. Play them all.
yeah.
Play them all. Play what you know. Major?
For F or C?
I don't care. Pick one. What's that?
Major.
Okay.
C major. This is in the C right now. This is minor.
Mm-hmm.
Augmented.
Uh-huh.
Diminished.
Uh-huh.
Sus 2.
Uh-huh.
Sus 4.
Good. That's been a while too. Pretty good.
It has.
But the point is that rather than teach him all the chords, they taught him the formula for it, and he almost remembers it. So it makes it a lot easier to remember it because there's a lot less to remember. That wasn't given to me. It was a really daunting thing for me because I had to learn all these 12 scales. If somebody taught me the formula, it would have been a lot less daunting.
You would have known all of them immediately. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about B flat major?
B flat major.
Mm-hmm.
So B plus 2 whole steps.
B flat major.
Oh, B flat plus 2 whole steps. That's 1. And then plus 2 more. Is that minor?
No.
My God. What is that?
You tell me.
Is that major? That sounds minor to me.
It's neither.
Is that even a chord?
Yo, sure, they're all chords. When I say taught him,
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to fix it.
All right. Wait, what?
There you go. So that's
Minor.
right.
Augmented.
Yes.
What's the formula for diminished?
You did it for C.
Well, if that's major.
This is my next major. I think this will be my next. I think this will be my next master class. Bigger piano.
I know what diminished is.
What is diminished?
It's basically minor for these two.
Right. For which one?
For the third note and the fifth note.
Right. So when you say minor, that means you do what to them?
You lower both by a half step.
Okay. That's the formula? Mm-hmm. Let's prove it. Play, give me how about D major?
D major. So that's D plus, okay, so that's that, and then, nice.
Oh, you can't see Draco's notes? Why not? Here, play down here.
Oh, okay.
So what's your formula for major chord? Tell them, teach them what the formula is for major chord.
The first, third, and fifth note of the major scale.
Yeah.
Someone says play lower Drake.
Yeah, they call you Drake. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
So?
I thought that was thought that was not intentional.
So if that's the case, what are the first, third, and fifth notes of the D major scale?
The D?
If that's what makes a major chord.
Well, that would be, well, you told me the formula for the chords is the main note,
The
or
root. The root.
yeah,
Is
or
the
the
word you're looking
tonic,
for. It's okay. Excuse me.
plus two whole steps, and that would be this,
Mm-hmm.
and then two whole steps from that,
Nope.
or 1.5 steps.
Maybe. You tell me.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Which is also.
That's still, I
yeah,
need to play.
which is also the first, third, and fifth major. Play the D major scale. Play the D
Wait.
major scale.
What? Okay. So
What's
that
the
would
formula
be
for a whole? What's the?
whole, half, whole, half.
Okay, so do it. Right.
That was easy.
Oh, that was easy. So easy. Okay. So D major.
D major.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
D minor. D sus2. D sus4. D augmented.
D augmented.
No.
No. What?
There you go. And D diminished.
And D diminished. That would be
Good.
easy.
So anyway, the point is that, simplifying the process that way would have made my life infinitely easier, and been a lot less daunting and a lot more fun to do. So might be time to sit a young man down and give him a talk about intervals. Yes, it's true. But what's interesting?
I need to play all the way down here.
No, this is still a meat range.
For them to see it.
No, because
Or is that not the actual vision of them?
no, that is, but they're behind. That's all.
Oh.
Anyway, so like I said, with no matter where you are in age, wherever you are in your music education, some of the basic principles, may not get taught, and then it seems infinitely more complex later. So some of the stuff we're talking about in chord voicing tomorrow night, to me, should have been stuff that somebody said to me explicitly right in the very beginning. Would have made things a lot simpler. So, Jaco, you know more than my friend who's been playing piano for 7 years. Well, what's funny is we're not working on piano. Like, I'm not turning him into a musician. I've given him this music stuff and we drill it from time to time. But it's more about giving him...
Why is Kyle Judkins leaving so many comments?
because he has things to say, and that's his medium for saying it.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Is this Discord?
No, it's not. He's talking to you.
Oh.
Does he actually he's giving you support? Be grateful. No, but I mean, just musically, especially when people talk about reading and writing music, he does a note trainer because that way he can read and write music. And I don't care if he becomes a musician or not. Are you going to become a musician? You going to become a musician?
Might.
No, probably not, right? Maybe?
For this live stream's sake, yes.
Okay. Nice. I appreciate that. That's good. But it just, it makes what is otherwise seems like this really, really complex thing really not that scary. For the sake of this live stream, we'll say yes. That's my boy. Good. Go with it,
Yeah.
It's a show, after all. It's not real.
That's true.
That's true. Oh, we were just learning the blues scale the other day. Do you remember the blues scale?
Is it the? No, it isn't like the thing that you.
It's the scale.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's that's enough. But that's a formula you have to remember. Remember, 1 flat 5 4 flat 5. We'll teach it to you.
Oh yeah.
But again, it's only one, and then you know them all. To opt for chord voicing, but due to my work schedule, I won't be able to be there live. Is it possible to get any doubts or questions sorted out later? Well, I try to do it on the show as much as possible. Try to send an email question.
Tell me what they want to hear
before the class, because after sometimes it's touch and go. I may or may not be available. Tell me what they want to hear. Yeah. G sus2.
G sus2. Okay.
Here's a tough one.
What?
E flat sus4.
Okay.
But it's
Let's figure out the E flat major.
Mm-hmm.
So E flat, that's 2 whole steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that's 8.
Mm-hmm.
So, is that it?
Mm-hmm. No, it's sus4.
Oh. Is that it?
Yep. Nice. Oh, so E sus4, E flat sus4?
Yeah, that was E flat sus.
Yeah. Play E flat sus4. E flat sus4. Mm-hmm. Now, first inversion.
Does that mean
Mm-hmm. Now play me an A flat sus2.
A flats?
Come down.
A flat. Okay.
Yeah, so go down here, do E flat sus4.
So,
E flat sus4.
oh.
First inversion.
No. Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's it?
Start again. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Now an A flat sus2.
A flat sus2. Wait. You tried to trick me.
Why? Why is that a trick?
Well, because you were trying to trick me into thinking it was a totally different chord.
Okay, I'm sorry. I won't do that again. Play
it's-
Play E flat sus2.
Okay. That would be.
Great. And now play me B flat sus4.
Okay, you didn't trick me that time.
Okay, very good.
So. You never know.
Hey, Mike, my wife is deaf, and she hears with cochlear implants. That's like bionic woman. She has a very difficult time hearing notes above C5. She's actually watching you. Can you play something down low? Okay, so we are killing his cochlear implant wife with the playing up here. So we're going to stay down here. In fact, we're going to give her this. Okay, so play me.
can't get down.
No,
there.
play down here, up here, right here. So
well,
play B flat major.
Well, then
B flat major.
B flat major. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Good. Now B flat sus4.
Now
B
what?
flat sus2. Now why don't you take the B flat sus4. B flat sus4.
Okay. Now what
Now
about
do
it?
the first inversion of B flat sus4.
Okay. And then second inversion is that.
Yep, do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Hit it again. Do it again. Do it again.
What do you mean?
Do it again. Again, do it again. Again, do it again. Do it again. There you go. Nice.
What?
Just showing them something. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Be it at the Chord Voicing Masterclass tomorrow night. Man, I would love to stay with the guys, but my baby's going to wake me up in 5 hours. Well, you know, don't let that happen. Good night, Mike Draco and Laura Beth. Thank you.
Soon Draco will give them master classes.
What's that? Yes, Draco will give the master classes soon, yes.
How about playing an egads or a demolished?
Demolished, an egads.
What's an egads?
Egads is an expression meaning like, I'm currently a music major, currently. I also
can do
soak
an
up YouTube videos. Okay.
Diminished.
The entire chat room, how do you guys feel about music education? Some days I'm like, why can't I just go on YouTube? Well, you know, Rashad, my feeling on music education is that it's great after you've already learned to write music. You can't learn to write music in a classroom. You know, the knowledge that
There
you
you go.
get...
Here's E demolished or diminished.
Here's ear demolished. Ready? Hit it again. There you go.
What?
So the thing about music education is, and theory and stuff, is it's a great way of talking about music. It's a great way of describing things that are musical devices, but they can't teach you how to write music. It's like I've said many times, you can't learn how to fuck from taking a class. You got to do it. Do it a bunch. Try all the shit you've seen in porn. See how it doesn't work or does work, and then eventually you'll figure it out. And then if somebody says, "Oh, this is why," and this is why, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, I have a context for it," and then you'll learn how to do it. Right?
So he was not even listening, right?
No, he's not listening.
Draco, what did your dad just say?
What was I just talking about? What was I talking about?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It isn't though.
What do you get when you drop a piano
Yeah,
down a
what do you-
mine
What do you
shaft?
get when you get a piano down a mine shaft?
I don't know. What?
B flat, A flat minor, A flat minor, A flat minor. Piano down a mine shaft, A flat minor. Huh?
Well, I can kind of get that a little bit.
You know, it doesn't have to be funny. That's just a joke.
You can actually reply. Don't you know that?
What's that?
Don't you know?
Don't I know what?
Don't you know that you can reply? Or do you not?
He's replying with his voice.
Well, we replied with my voice. Talking to him.
Oh, I got an idea.
What? So anyway, yeah. So you know, music education again, good for organizing what you've already learned, but the principles of composition can't. I've never. You can always tell academic composers, as they're academics. Take my composition classes and you'll learn how to really write music. This is actually true. And then I'll talk about, and do talk about, when it's good to use education to organize what you've learned, the actual things that matter, into describable chunks. And I will tell you, the biggest comment I've gotten in the last 5, 6 years of doing master classes, people say, okay, I took one of these classes and I just learned more in 4 hours than in 4 years of a university. And that's not because the classes are so amazing. It's because that's what I'm teaching is not stuff you can learn in school, because they don't teach it that way, because they don't know it that way. My classes are everything I wish somebody had said to me when I was learning on the job 30 years ago. So yeah, my advice is if you haven't, pull out and start learning to write music. So yeah.
How do I leave a comment?
Well, you'd have to sign in on your YouTube channel to do it, but then also mute your audio. What is my favorite piece or movement from Shostakovich?
You just got something.
Hey,
Dad?
I don't know, my favorite Shostakovich piece? Nice. Message retracted. I want to know what that message was. I want to know what the retracted message was. Whenever somebody retracts something, I want to know what they were like. No, I shouldn't have said that. Yes, you should have. Yes. Draco, I'll type something back to you. Hold on.
Oh, okay, so you're probably not going to reply.
Well, I will, you know. I'm looking for my chat window. There it is.
Oh, that sucks.
I uploaded my latest music mock-up cover to my SoundCloud page of the hockey theme in anticipation of the NHL draft. All right. Welcome. That tune was the old Hockey Night in Canada theme tune. My mock-up is the Google search away. Oh, okay, right on. My favorite Shostakovich piece. I don't know. I don't want to answer that flippantly. Let me actually think about which one is probably most influential. Let me say hi to my son. So, again, by the way, is the piano and mic level okay, by the way? I haven't asked this in all the time we've been doing this. Just if I talk while I'm doing this. How's the level between the two? You are formerly known as D-Rake because you catch everything. Good. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what's the pat answer for Shasta? The fifth? 'Cause it's like quintessential. And in terms of the direct influence on my work, there isn't a ton of Shostakovich. I just respect the shit out of it. But you know, if I think about Leningrad, or if I think about, you know, it's such a distinctive sound, and I have a hard time separating myself from the historical importance of it and the cultural and social shit that happened when this guy wrote music. You know what I mean? I think I get a little, because I'm a big history buff, and just the fact that, you know, like basically his life was hanging in the balance every time he wrote a piece of music, you know, colors a lot of what I listen to Shostakovich stuff with. Probably fifth. I can hear the audio just fine. Speaking of such, I might give his Festive Overture mock-up cover treatment as well. Good thing I use Reaper. Hey, where can I find the video of you guys transcribing music? Yeah, can somebody give him that link? It's on my channel somewhere. Your sound up has improved a lot over the years. Well, you know, some of what I was concerned with this setup where the mics are now on top is that you'd be getting so much more of them through this mic. But you know what? You, mister, need to go lay down. It's like lay down time for you. It's way past that. What do you say? What do you say?
Good night.
There you go. Go. You go read or something, do something with it? Thank you. I'll be there soon, okay, pal? All right, love you. Yeah, I mean, that sound, again, so distinctive, and, you know, and part of it, not, you know, the most direct influences in my work are obvious. You'll hear Barber and, you know, Copeland and, you know, who else? Britten, and lots of that directly in my stuff. Real obvious. You know, and I wouldn't say by way of John Williams, but of course my path to them was backwards. It was reverse engineered. Respighi, Ravel, Holst. What happened to the program you used that shows the notes you play on the grand staff? I think that was just for one class, wasn't it? It might be an option of this overlay that I haven't used in a while, but I'll check. But you know, that thing we were doing with Draco there, where I was teaching the stuff to, you know, if you guys can't do that, you should totally be able to do that. That's really useful, just as a thing, is to be able to at least for the, you know, for the major chords, to be able to go, all right, well, these are all your sus4s. And that little trick, that little thing I set them up for, to realize that the, you know, the E flat and the A flat sus2, E flat sus4 and A flat sus2 were the same in an inverted state, is part of what then frees you to start realizing that these are all something else. And you realize, wow, every single thing works. But it's just useful to be able to start and have, you know, some orienting sense of where you are. Oh, it might be helpful for the chord class. It might, although, interestingly enough, one of the things we'll be talking about in the chord class is actually separating from the, that's an F. It really doesn't matter, you know, because that starts to get into, the voicing starts to get tied into what the specific chord is, and that's really not actually as important as you'd think. The relative motion internally of the voices, and the way in which they close or open, and the ways in which they move from one range of tonality into another tonality, is way more important than what the actual chord is. And so it tends to be, you know, that a B flat fares differently here than that same voicing does for an F sharp, But that's because of range, not because of the fact that one's B flat and one's F sharp. It really doesn't matter. There's an F sharp version, that you can use in a context with the B flat and it'll work. You just are in a different place if you open and then close. It's totally different worlds. Even though from a voice leading standpoint, you could make an argument that this is extremely efficient. But it's that those are completely disparate qualities. So we'll talk about that. Yeah. Spielberg Star Wars. Did I say Spielberg Star Wars? I gave John Williams' main theme from Star Wars that same mock-up treatment. So stoked about Rise of Skywalker debuting in half a year's time. What is that? I'm trying to start a professional home studio. I would like to go to a real studio because I've never been to one before. You should definitely do that. Would you prefer me building my own studio at the same time? Get real life? Well, definitely before you do anything that's like that, especially because a really good studio, even if it's a modest one, is geometry first. It's geometry first and equipment second. When I built my production facility and we had this just tits mixing room in it, that was engineered by one of the top firms on the planet, and that's where the money went. The actual fucking equipment wasn't that expensive by comparison. Getting the bones of it right. And when they finally came in and did the analysis on it and, and bounced the waves around and everywhere, I remember the very first pass, even after all their analysis and experience, there was something going on in the sweet spot with the ceiling. They ripped the entire ceiling out and re-engineered it. And it was the best room I've ever been in ever. And we had great speakers and great stuff in it, but that really wasn't what it was. That room was good no matter what you did in it. You just sat in it and talked, and you were like, they just wanted to be in there, and it was good. It just had a weird, cool, natural thing just in the room. It's the bones. So room treatments and choosing the room and all that stuff. So definitely some education on site with places and talking to people. Don't be in a rush. Figure out where you're going to do it, and then start looking at equipment. And boy, solicited a ton of opinions and research, and take your time. It's important. Half year. I'm sorry, half year's time. Oh, half years. Right. Why was I thinking 50 years? Oh yeah, you're excited for a new Star Wars movie, are you? Okay. Yeah, somebody has to be, I guess. There's Star Wars movies. It's Star Wars. It says it. It's right there. It's right there on the Pez dispenser. It says Star Wars. It's Star Wars. What's that? That's Mugu Fugu. Yeah, he's in the Jabba Hutt story. We canceled that. He was the guy who holds the lamp at the door. It's from Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars. You say so. They're probably not going to let me touch nothing in there. Just sit down and be quiet. Well, that's probably good. But that's all you need to do is just look and listen and ask questions and anything that you're going to do. The entire compendium of human knowledge is on the web and free, so use it. Am I still here? Yes, I'm still here. Because people are asking things, and they're welcome to ask things. And plus, we have a multicultural, transcontinental audience. Some people are just waking up. This is the middle of the day for some people. Other people are insomniacs, can't sleep, just coming off their work day. And everybody should know about the Chord Voicing Masterclass tomorrow night, which you should be at. If you're not going to shill your own classes, who are you going to shill for? It's not like you had to sit through an ad to get to my shit. Just came here to work. Okay, just came to work here in Germany. I can't read tonight. That must be the Tordal or the Vicodin. I'm honestly overwhelmed by the wealth of education that's available on the internet. Yeah, well, sometimes it's hard to decide what to learn next. Well, for sure, I mean, you know, obviously all of it is not equal, but you don't know that until you delve in. You know, I generally am on the feeling that you get like the people you're with. So I always try to, the stuff that I watch are always by people who are true masters. No matter what I'll watch people do things in all kinds of disciplines. I do not watch music videos or music instruction videos. Because usually when I do, I end up just shouting at the screen in 5 seconds, being like, no, what, why, what? And then I'm like, I don't need this. But like, you know, I watch, whatever, it doesn't matter whether it's art restorers, or I watch a lot of restoration stuff. People who restore paintings and people who restore old equipment. I like watching it because because there's no cheat. You have to like be super patient and craft based, and you could fuck it up and destroy it forever, and it's precious, and there's all this pressure. So I like being in this sort of company, you know, around people who are just fucking just like great at what they do and good under pressure, and there's no bullshit, and the results are obvious and astounding. I like to surround myself with those people and feel like those are the people I'm trying to impress all day, you know? And you got to dig a little bit to find those kinds of things, but that's always my advice. My classes start at 7 p.m. PDT tomorrow night. Got to buy it. It's not free. It's cheap, though. Super cheap. That's because it should be cheap. It should be cheap for broke-ass musicians. It's kind of amazing. I think Donnie Pearson, Donnie, are you pretty hardcore pushing your stuff? Like people should go listen to your stuff? If so, I applaud that. Good job. Just like, yeah, you should also go hear my stuff. Also, you should go hear my stuff. Because you can't be a composer unless your first statement to the world is, this is worth your time. Yeah, you should stop what you're doing and you should totally listen to this. Now, millennials are really bad at it because they will just be like, I have written the most exciting, groundbreaking piece. And you're like, dude, that's other people decide that there, Tiger. But still, I'd prefer that rather than, you know, I don't want to play it for anybody. No, play it. Put it out there. You know, put it out there and you just go, yeah, hey, want to check out my shit? Hire me. Hungry. I'll take that. It's kind of amazing how much better my equipment gets. My output goes down. Okay, yeah. When I was a kid, I got a lot done with a cassette and tape recorder, as did I. And that's why, you know, I don't, my shit is so old and broken, and I don't buy sample libraries much, ever, hardly, you know, just like sometimes to review one or whatever. I write on the piano. I'm way faster. And, you know, and if there was a situation where there was a thing and it was like, we need a mock-up, it would take me way less time to write it out, write it on the score, and hand it to a kid, and just say, mock that up, just do it. Because the problem is it wouldn't feel right, and then it would be a waste. So then I'd have to do it myself. So then like I've done for film scores a couple times, just then done it in the mock-up. I don't know. But yeah, man, you know, I broke the ground with a piece of hammer. I certainly, you know, one of the things that I want to do on my app, the app, by the way, is called Mic Drop. That's what it's called. And one of the things I want to do with the app is just like a maybe not daily, but at least weekly reminder to all of the insecure, not valuing themselves artists and creatives out there laboring under the thumbs of people who don't value them and treat them like shit and make them hate their life, of reminding them exactly how much power they have, that they are a market of one, and where they should be spending your energy so that you don't let people turn your fucking beautiful, glorious life into a fucking job. Musicians they're such pussies. Always get the fucking shaft. Always like, well, they're just going to get somebody else. Then they don't value you. Fuck them. It's like, then they've already told you they don't value you. If you're bidding for a job, they've already said, well, any number of people will work. Doesn't have to be you. That's already, you're out. You don't want that person. Well, it could be any red car. just so long as it, is sort of sports car like. Well, I don't just sell red cars. We sell a Ferrari. We only make 6 of them. It's the best in the world. If you want the Ferrari, I got it for you. It's going to cost this amount of money. But if you're okay with a red car, get some fucking Rice Rocket with some shit on it from Pep Boys. You don't need what we have. This is handcrafted shit. You only want the people who are like, no, I want the Ferrari. That's all. I don't want to hear about these other things. That's what I want. You're my man. You've come to the right place. Let me sell you one of these mad boys. We only sell 6 a year. We'll put your name on it and everything. That's your client. You got to do that. So, so I got to do, but I just feel like musicians and artists cannot hear this enough, because it's just that tragic tale all day of musicians and creatives everywhere being like, well, it's the client. The client told me to do all these things. Yeah, did you get to put that in a fucking disclaimer underneath your work, or did your work go out in the world like that, just with your name on it? Fucking douchey work. It went out like that. Oh, okay, nice. So people are like, you suck, and you can't go to everybody's house and say, look, it wasn't me. They made me do that. They're trying to justify their jobs. You can't do that. So you take the hit. But you got paid a shit ton, didn't you? Well, no, because they said they didn't have the money. They spent, sucker. So I'm just gonna do a fucking series on that for musicians to wake up in the morning, and then they walk out of the house. Fuck them all. There you go. Hey, Mike, do you have any advice on music distributors? Yeah, distribute yourself. I finished my second album. I need to put it somewhere new. Fuck that. This is 2019 bordering on 20. You can find your people, your exact people. Don't split your money. What do they have gatekeepers now? We know where hey, some guy with a cigar, look, kid, you want me to get your music into the stores, you're going to have to go through me. Fuck you, there aren't even stores anymore. No, you go find your people who like exactly your thing. You cultivate your audience. When I started doing my music master classes, it was an accident. I was on this forum, which wasn't a nightmare then. And at the time, I was just writing pieces. I was just putting them out. They were sketch pieces or speed writing pieces. And people were like, how do you do this? And they were asking a lot of questions. And suddenly I was getting all these questions from people just asking about the work. So I was like, I'll do a class. I'll do some podcasts and just answer them all at once. And then that evolved into the classes. But the point is that my core group was there. They were there. And I was already talking to them for a year. And it was sort of like, they just sort of like, oh yeah, they would probably enjoy hearing a class of this. It was never my goal. It was never. But that's the model. You go and you find your avenues without thinking about the dragnet. You need a distributor for a job. We're going to put your music everywhere. If we put it everywhere, okay, that's nowhere near as effective and way harder to get to than to go to exactly the people that want what you do. And you are connected to everyone in the world now. It's not as easy. It's easier to go to a distribution company and say, you just take care of this. But you've also turned over all your power, and you've also abdicated your responsibility to guide your own thing. So I don't have a distributor. I wouldn't use a distributor. I would never be on a label. None. Unless the deal was that they take almost nothing and they have no say, which they wouldn't do, because that's half the reason they're in the game, to fucking take your money and have say, which is why you wouldn't want them involved in the first place, so fuck them. It's not 1984 anymore. It's, so distribute yourself. Take all the money, keep it all, and go find whatever time you spend learning your audience will come right back, return on investment, for you now connecting to the very people that are going to do the thing, and you want to get feedback, you know exactly who it is, and plus, you're learning your people, and thus your own product. So, yeah, get me out. Forget it. There's a fight between analog and digital. I don't know, tape recorders and DAWs. I don't think there's a fight. I think there's so many fucking monkeys walking around on this planet that there's a market for everything, literally everything. Think about this. You might be one of these people. There's people that fucking isn't enough. They got to put on a little suit and they got like a rabbit costume, and then they got to sit in a bowl of baked beans. And they find other people who will do that in the same fucking town. So if fucking baked bean sitting furry people can find love, I'm pretty sure you can find somebody who will pay $1.99 for your music. You know what I'm saying? We're all connected. I don't know how I don't even know how you start that conversation. So do you like animals? I don't know even how you start that. I don't even know. I don't even know how you start that conversation, but they find each other. So take it on yourself, control your own destiny, and keep every dollar. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. They make people believe that magic and dragons don't exist anymore. They make people believe that magic and dragons don't exist anymore. We feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. Hey, my son's name is Draco. That means dragon. So I got a dragon right here, and it's fucking magic that he's here. So I believe in magic and dragons. I got him in the house. But yeah, I mean, like I said, obviously it is in every corporation's interest, and there's only like 6 corporations now, and they control everything, and they tell you what to think, assuming you listen to what they say, which I don't listen to any of that, but so there's no shortage of vested interest in people telling you why you should turn over your power and your work 24 hours a day, and well, you don't have a choice. You do have a choice, in fact, and then you could be one of those people that are like, how does that fucker get away with it? How come he gets to walk through the raindrops? Because he wouldn't take it otherwise. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you accept. If you accept a bullshit thing, you get bullshit. If you accept half the money that you're worth, that's what you get. If you go, man, fuck you, I'm worth twice that. Well, now you're halfway to getting it. You're not going to get it if you take it. Go find the people who are going to pay you for it. You just got to be good at enough to make the money. You can't charge $10,000 for your 5-cent product. That won't work. I mean, maybe you get one. But so you spend the rest of your time building your craft and being good so you can sell your shit. As a friend of a furry, I can tell you him and his bromance met online on a forum. Sure, there's a forum for that. Man, life is hard enough without having to dress up in a fucking squirrel costume. I've gay, furry, gun-toting Republicans. Sure, why not? That sounds like somebody I would want at my party. Are you kidding? This one guy, this gay guy who cuts my hair, of course, he was going to come to, he and his black husband, they love to upset people, and they're gay, but they like to they don't like the corporate gay, they don't like so they like to rub people they're disruptive. So they wanted to come to a Halloween party as the black slave of the white gay KKK guy. And I was like, immediately come to the party like that and just let everybody because hopefully anybody who shouldn't be at the party will then just be like, and they'll just leave. And then all you got left are fucking people with a sense of humor who fucking party. Yeah, so if you know any gay, furry, gun-toting Republicans, tell them we got a Halloween party coming. Want their ass there. Do I have any methods for more interesting chord substitutions? Yes, and God, which of the classes do we do all that shit in? Is it, we do all those modulations, the chromatic modulations, one note this way? Somebody refresh me, I don't remember. Strangest time to walk in. Oh, no, not at all. We were talking about... No, okay, so if you just walked in, we are actually somehow, believe it or not, talking about the live masterclass I do tomorrow night, which you should sign up for and attend. It's on chord voicing, because everybody needs help with chord voicing, and it's going to be densely packed with all kinds of gold and shit to make you have light rays come out of your ass. So you should be there. But we were just testing the setup tonight, so we just let it run. I always seek out the gay guy when I find a place to get hair. Yeah, so do I. I mean, yeah, for sure. It's not any kind of stereotyping. Oh, for me, it totally is stereotyping. I've just never had a bear cut it from a fabulous person. No, first of all, I don't know if it's stereotyping, but it's true. Like your take 1,000 hetero dudes. Millennials might blow this, but 1,000 hetero dudes my age, and then take 1,000 gay guys and just randomly walk into their apartments and see which ones are nicer, more put together, and don't have fucking piss on the floor. The gay guys are like 99%. Yes, it's not fucking stereotypes, it's statistics. Statistics. It's fucking math. You know, it's like I don't think we should suggest that Italians like pasta. What the fuck? Yes, we do. Yes, some don't. Some are gluten intolerant. Statistically, if your Italian comes over and you're like, I made you some sausage, if that person gets offended, they were looking for a fight anyway. If he's probably not even really Italian. Otherwise, you'd be like, thank you for that. I got to watch my cholesterol, but I appreciate that. Take this home for the fucking whatever, you know. So, yeah. I just got here and immediately saw a fucking baked beans sitting furry people can find love. I'm pretty sure you can find someone who'll pay $1.99 for music. I miss these streams. Yeah, well, you know, it's true. I told you it's part of. It's gonna be one of the channels on my app is gonna be like motivational stuff for creatives, and it's just gonna start with like, no, $150 an hour isn't a lot for a musician to make. $600 is what a lawyer will make for fucking people all day. You put beautiful, glorious things into the world. Everybody's talking about burying lawyers at the bottom of the ocean. They never say that about musicians. You make the $600. Motherfucker, fuck them. Just be good enough that you can look at them in the face and say, that's $600 an hour. Well, I can just get another composer to do it. Yeah, no, there's bargain guys. Yeah, I can hook you up with them. I know one guy, when he's not sweeping up hair, he writes music. He's real cheap. Want that guy? Give me his number. So I may be a hetero, but I do not bash a homo or any LGBT, not one darn bit. You don't bash them? Well, you mean bash them? You shouldn't bash them. You know. You can have any opinion you want, just be able to defend it. That's all. You don't have to like gay people. They don't have to like hetero people. What do they call us, breeders or something? I don't know. They don't have to like. Okay, well, what's your argument? I mean, I feel like let everybody just do what they're going to do. You know, what do I give a fuck what you do? I got enough to do without worrying about that you have a husband and you're a dude. Like, good, that's great. Don't get divorced if you can, you know. Who gives a shit what people do? But people care sometimes, you know, or God tells you to care. I don't know. But you can go to a gay person, and it's a fair argument. You can go to a gay person and you go, what's with the lisp? Being gay doesn't make you do that. Like, I shouldn't be able to tell that you're gay from 3 blocks away. You're putting that on. Why are you doing that? That's a fair question. You're always talking about you the same as everybody else. Why are you trying to act so different? Being gay doesn't make you. Those are affectations, you know. Sister, get out of here. I just, oh, please. Like, wait. So I'm just asking. If that's your thing and that's your culture and that's how your people are, well, that's fine. I'm just saying, you know, don't come at me with that I'm not supposed to notice that. You're working that shit. If the truth is, so what? You love dudes. That doesn't make you fucking mince around from, you know what I mean? And you've known some gay dudes. You can see them from fucking space. There's those dudes. I love that. I think that's fucking hysterical. They have so much music in their voice when they're like that. You know, when like you get a really gay guy, real gay, super gay, their music and their voice is just like, if you turn off filters and shit in their voice, it's like, wow, it's really interesting. I like that. I like a super like gay guy. But it's also like but it's also like a thing. You have to do that. It doesn't just like happen. You know what I mean? You don't have like a baby like fabulous. It's, you know what I mean? So you can call a gay guy out and they're like, will you stop it? Can you just for 5 minutes not be so gay? You know what I mean? You're taking all my fucking thunder. It's fair. But but people don't have as much respect for others as I do. Have I done any film scores, big TV productions? I've done a lot of things. I'm about to be 19 in August, and I got a lot of good things ahead that lies in wait. Yeah, start perusing my master classes would be my advice. People that hate gay people are secretly afraid that dicks taste delicious. Right? Which I guess you should try once. I could never bring myself. I get so bummed out. Dicks. I just don't. It's like, I just don't think I could even muscle through one. I almost wish just for the experience, be like, hey, look, I sucked a dick. Okay, it's not that great, but I can't even say that. I just can't. Tried. I haven't really tried. Whatever. I respect everyone. Just don't get too close to me with it. Well, you can get as close as you want. Just, at some point, I just don't want to have to get a fucking shot. My friends don't have a list and can't stand pride events. Yeah, it's funny. I actually, like the actual gay friends of mine, they reject a lot of the, like, militant stuff. There's like, they have their own thing. They're just like, we're just not angry about the whole thing. I don't know. Okay. Some people are. I don't know. Somebody's talking about, somebody's talking about, read something where they were like, well, we have to have these gay pride events because we have to end persecution of gays. And I'm like, that sounds good, but I just don't see how you get from the parade to the, what's the causal link? Just, how do we know when it works? Like, should we put more money in the parade? Because if it's a really big parade, will like all the fucking persecution just go, like, how is that working? You know what I mean? You have a guy that's like, fucking faggots, and then you just have like giant penis floats and stuff, and he's like, well, maybe I ought to rethink it. Like, I don't see, how is that, or is it just a big fuck you? In which case, you then don't say it's solving the problem, you're just getting yours. That'd be like a how about a gay fuck you parade? See, that if that's more the move, look, you're not going to accept us, so we're just going to stick it in your face. Okay, I think I'd go to that parade. Just gay guys, that's right, we like it in the ass. Like, yeah, that's it. You know what you're buying your ticket for. You're not going to take this racist redneck and change his mind anyway. So he ought to, make him super uncomfortable. That parade, I think, would be a little more, because otherwise I don't know how you're taking the entrenched, narrow-minded, guy never left his town, so he never hears any opinions, like CNN viewers or whatever, Fox News viewers, they just never leave their little bubble so they don't hear. And he's like, well, I hate damn faggots. I don't think how a parade that confirms all of his worst, ignorant, paranoid suspicions is going to make him not persecute gay people. But I'm willing to listen. I just like logic, and I want to help, really, is what the thing is. Anyway. Do I have any opinions on progressive music? I mean, if it's good, if people can play, if it's got the components that I enjoy in music, my thought is, yeah. Anything, any kind of music. I'll listen to all kinds of stuff. I listen for control and intent on the part of the people that are writing it, I'm looking for that combination of, okay, I hear you. I know where you're going with this. Ooh, I did not see that coming. All right. What else you got? Oh, motherfucker. Nice. And dude can play. That'll get me no matter what the music is. That just doesn't happen that often. Prog rock, there's all kinds of shit if it's got all that stuff to it. If I'm just like, motherfucker, there's something to respect here. You know what I mean? It's like, taught me that I don't know everything. I'm going to go and try to work that out. What did he do there? That was cool. I never thought of that. Wish I'd thought of that. That'll get me on any kind of music, no matter what it is. So, yeah. Yeah, in the master classes and on my channel and on Red Band, my forum and all that stuff, we don't talk about good music versus bad music, because this to me just devolved into that stupid argument about it all being subjective, which is not true. By the way, it's not all subjective. If you build a brick wall and it falls over, it's not a good brick wall. Music has elements to it that are well constructed or not well constructed, and hit a target reliably or don't. But rather than get spun off into that argument, we always talk about control and skill, so that whatever music you're writing is because that's what you chose to do, not because you couldn't choose something else. You can write fucking one chord groovy, sound designy tunes, but it shouldn't be because you can't write a deep symphonic master work with thematic and stuff. Like, you're either in control of music as a composer, or you're not. You know what I mean? And if you're not, then you're not in control of your destiny, and you're also missing out on a whole world of shit that you could bring into that other thing. So we're always just saying, look, can you, when people do one kind of thing, we almost always break it down. Can you take a simple progression, a 1-4-5 progression, and make it interesting, and play 10 different little nursery rhyme songs on it, and they're and they're catchy and get in people's heads? Can you control music? Can you control the way people feel about it? Okay. Now, with all that control, you're like, well, I can, but I'm going to go do this. Great example is Schoenberg. Schoenberg, people know him for all his 12-tone shit. Girl Eater, one of the greatest tonal pieces ever written, fucking masterwork. That dude could have written tonal pieces all day. He's like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do this other shit. Okay, do that. He wanted to do that. Wasn't because he couldn't do other. It's because that's what he wanted to do. That's control. There are no big record labels anymore. No, there are not. Just the big three. Yeah, and you don't need any of that stuff. Don't go onto a label. Lord. I mean, unless your goal isn't music, unless you just want to be, you know, which I honestly, you know, like if you just want to be one of these property kids, you know what I mean? They're just properties. They're just like it's like child abuse. They just take them, young girls, and they just do them, and they auto-tune them, and they dance them, and they backing track them, and they put a lot of lights and shit. And then the girl does not have fucking normal anything because she's got the kind of stage parents who would push her into that shit and let a corporation rape her 24 hours a day. And so she ends up a complete fucking basket case, and she's all on fucking TV, fucking wrecked mess, and you know, and then they're like, well, we're done with her. Her numbers are low. So then they go get another 14-year-old girl and start working on her on the Disney Channel. Like, if you're a 14-year-old girl and you have those kind of parents, like, and they're up ready to just let the desiccated husk of what was left of your psychology just meander through the rest of your broken life, maybe that's one kind of goal. But if you're a musician, I'd say you don't need to plug yourself directly into the fucking corpse rapers at a corporation. Like, I don't think a multinational conglomerate has your best interests in mind. Catch me outside. How about that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah, man. You know, corporations, fuck that. Not sure if you answered that. Any plans on a Business 2 masterclass? You know, a lot of the principles in Business 2, I think, are still relevant in Business 1, rather, are still relevant. But like I said, that's part of what I want to put on my app are like these sorts of things that I don't necessarily feel merit an entire class because they're really based on some principles. And the principles are really about understanding that you are a market of one. A market of one. And nobody else in the world can produce your unique product. It is a sum not only of your skills and your abilities, but your unique life experience. And if people want that product, you will sell them that product. But you're not just going to be, you're not a fucking widget. You know what I mean? And when people treat a musician like a plumber, like, well, anybody can put a fucking plunger in the toilet. Yeah, this isn't toilet plunging. So, you know, no, actually nobody can do what I can do. You know, then what you're looking for is cheap. They're not looking for you. It has nothing to do with you. You don't even factor into it. They're just looking for music, like composer unit. You're just a fucking drone to them. Why? They don't do that to actors. They're like, Mr. Cruz, please be in our movie. He's like, fuck it, I don't like your script. We'll rewrite the script. We'll do anything. We'll donate to Scientology. Will you please? We have to have you. We can't have anybody else. It's got to be Tom Cruise. We just have to have you. Okay, it's $23 million a day. Okay, we'll get it. We'll get it. Would you like to write the music for a Tom Cruise movie? Yes, sir. May I please write the music? Okay. Well, he was very expensive, so we only have $50. Okay, but it'll be my big break. You know, that's just you not valuing yourself. But if if you don't think that you're worth it, and if you don't believe that you're worth it, and maybe because you're not, then it's hard to, like you can't play a hand you don't have because the bluff only goes so far. The point is that if you're really a master at what you do because you've practiced and studied and made a thing of it, then you're holding an ace all the time. And really it's just a question of whether or not you're going to play it. Somebody says, I can't even do what I do. You know, do your best. That's all you can do. Always do your best. That's how you end up without regrets. People have shitty jobs, complain about the shitty jobs, but they don't do a great job at it, and they think you should get a better job. You don't even do the shitty job, bro. Guy sweeping up, fuck this. I should be manager. You got fucking stuff. You didn't even get it in the corners. Well, fuck that. Why should I get on? They don't even pay me anything. Fucking hate this gig. You're stuck in that gig. You're not even trying. Maybe if you clean the fucking shit out of that, they'd be like, Jesus Christ. Maybe they move you up. Like, you do other things? Yes, sir. I can fucking accountant. I can do all kinds of shit. I can be working. All right. Let them do something else. Yes, sir. You work the shit out of it. Whatever you do the fucking best you can. You're not going to get upwardly mobile because of how you suck because you've got a fucking chip on your shoulder. So whatever you do the best you can do. And then at the end of the day, even if nobody noticed, you're with you in the mirror and you're like, we fucking brought it today. I said this, I think, in one of the last master classes. Think about this, you know. If you, if half the people on the planet, did their fucking best, no matter what their job was, like it was the last day on earth, the last thing they were ever going to do, that's how they brought it at work. Half the time, the world would be like some fucking nirvana. Imagine what that world would be like. Half the people, half the time. You walk into a store, and you're like, yeah, excuse me, do you know where the batteries are? No. You can ask, I am asking. You work here. You're here like 8 hours a day. It's not even that big a store. You don't, where are the, yeah, I work in floor covering. So you don't have any idea where the batteries are. Okay. That guy. What if it wasn't all that? What if it was like you know what? I'll tell you exactly. I was actually in this store. This is a true story. I was in a store, a paint store. And it's, I'm waiting for my paint to get mixed. And this guy comes in and he says, what are the differences between these three epoxies? There's a blue one, a red one, and a green one. And the guy behind the counter goes, who's just standing there on his phone, goes, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the differences are. You know, I mean, other than the fact, you know, there's different colors. And the guy goes, are they different hardnesses or? Yeah, I just, you know what? Honestly, I don't know that. Now, this guy works in this paint store. It's a small paint store. They don't have that many products. And this product is in a big fucking case right in front of the counter. And he was fine with the answer that I don't know. And the customer was like, all right, well, let me just have these two fucking roll. I Googled. I was sitting there just waiting for my paint. Googled. Look at the product. It says, this one cures in 5 minutes, this one cures in 3 minutes, this one cures in 30 seconds. I said, the red one cures in 5 minutes, the green one cures in 30 seconds. He goes, oh, okay, good. All right, well, let me get 3 of the yellow ones. Took me like 10 seconds. I don't even fucking work there. But that's why that dude is stuck in a fucking paint store job, probably bitching about his fucking hours and his boss. Didn't lift a fucking finger for a thing that's in his store. That's the whole world. So imagine, instead of that guy going, you know what, I don't know, sir, but we're just going to find out because it's going to help us both. Well, sir, it's going to be 30 seconds for that, 5 minutes for that. And the other guy goes, and then he sells it. He says, you know what, I learned a thing today and I sold a product too. Fucking know my job. If the world was half of that, you'd be like, I can't believe this fucking place. No wonder aliens are landing at such a great place. Imagine that. Toy Story 4. Hope it's good. I use the Pixar RenderMan engine myself, so I hope Pixar is doing good work. Even though it's not Pixar anymore, it's Disney. Good night. Thanks for coming. Yeah, but you do it for yourself because in the end of the day, every single time you bring it, then you know that you're the kind of person that if the world was like you, it would be a great world, a fucking nirvana world. You're that person today. You've been the change. And even if nobody even notices that you did your fucking great job, man in the mirror notices, and that's your most important critic anyway. You know? Nobody's going to eat off the fucking toilet seat, but they could. Because that's the kind of shit I do. You ask me to clean a toilet seat, you could literally eat off that fucking toilet seat. And I'm talking about eating something that you'd have to fucking lick. That's how clean my toilet seat is. Nobody's going to know that. I think you're weird for even doing it. Except you're just like, that's me. Got my name on it. That's what I do. That's who I am. I'm the way the world should be, motherfucker. Maybe you feel like that every day. You don't have to take fucking Wellbutrin to get out of bed in the morning. I don't know. Well, I'm just saying. Always do your best, especially as a musician. You got a responsibility. Music changed people's lives. Practice a little bit, maybe change your lives. Then think how you feel. You don't have to change that many people's lives. I can just tell you this. In your life, you don't have to get that many emails from somebody saying, we played your song at our wedding. It was the most special moment of our lives. It was the one in which we were surrounded by the most important people. We were making vows in front of what we believed to be as our creator, the infinite. We believed that we were making a commitment that we would have until the day we no longer draw breaths. And the piece of music, we wanted to cement that occasion. And remember that moment forever by was a piece that you wrote for us. Thank you for that piece. You will be with us forever. How many of those letters you think you actually need in your life to feel like, shit, I better keep practicing? Not many. You don't need 50,000 fucking 26-year-old girls throwing panties at you. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can work that out, you can get both. Oh. But 26-year-old girls don't know anything. I used to like 26-year-old girls. Now I'm just like, shut up. Anyway, but the truth is, you can change the world. You can change people. So practice, learn shit. Come to the master class tomorrow night on chord voicing. I never passed up an opportunity when I worked at a tool store to learn which application each tool could be used for. Yeah, because in the apocalypse, you will be building a shelter and other people will be passing through the digestive systems of wolves. Any other questions that I've missed? Did you go Mike's bar guy? I like my bar. It's got all stuff in it that we drink. It changes its look every few months. Have I ever thought of doing a VFX critique? Much smaller audience. I mean, I could. It would not be difficult. You know, VFX, I mean, I'm not sure it would be for. VFX artists as a thing are a completely different animal as a group, and they rely very much on for some reason, they feel very compelled. You know, it's like, especially in their trades, to present visual effects as a world that's like it's like slot A into tab A into slot B. It's always like if you read Cinefex or any of the industry trades, it's always like, well, first we scanned the facility, and after we did that, we derived some LiDAR measurements for the things, and then we just wrote some shaders, and we ran a cloth simulation, then we did the compositing, and then we eventually output it in 8K. And it's like, and the truth is that entire process was a nightmare of fucked up shit and render artifacts and stuff that ran out of memory and licensing problems, and the simulation had fucking interpenetration, and they had to run it 10 times, but it wouldn't, so they had to segment it, but the problem is the cache wouldn't follow, and blah, 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 blah. It's always a fucking disaster, and by the end of it, some guy in Flame or whatever in the fucking, in Nuke was just painting out problems, and there's all these things, and eventually they figured out, well, we couldn't actually pull the key, so we just had 1,000 Koreans roto every second of the thing and all the strands of hair, but then they'd leave all that out, and just like, well, we just did this, so that every facility likes to pretend that we just handle shots. You can just handle this anything. Oh, you need 5,000 tanks running over the bones of the dead that are animating and flying. Oh, we just use our in-house proprietary particle system for that. We have it. It's called Bony, and it just makes bony guys crawl around, and they use crowd dynamics, and they never have any interpenetration, and they just run around, and we just tell them what to do, and then they just do it, and they run. Everything's all mo-capped, so we never have any problems with it. There's no keyframing. There's none of the blah 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 blah. Yeah, none of that happened. They just did it, and dragons flew around all day on Game of Thrones. Bull fucking shit. I don't know why visual effects try to pretend that their world is like that, but if you actually start to pull the curtain on, they all just... It's brutal. So it wouldn't be for visual effects guys, because I know they're full of shit, because I do it. And I don't know why that's so important to them, because then they're always bitching about the money, and I'm like, well, maybe if people knew what a fucking bitch it was for you to get that dragon to fly around without the fucking skin interpenetrating shit, and to get the shader with all the subsurface scattering, not to have a million fucking, noise particles in it that you had to end up doing a thing on later. Maybe if you told them how hard it was, then you'd understand why you'd have to build what it was, and you wouldn't go out of business 6 months later. But I can't do everything, folks, So what would my other point of a visual effects class be? I guess would be to tell the public, because maybe that would be the thing. Who my class would be for would be like these young directors that are like, we just shot it on green, and we just want there to be a city. And it's like, what do you mean you shot it on green? We just painted the wall green, and can't you just put in the universe and people walking around? No, it doesn't. Would you? Well, I saw it that way on that special. God damn it. Because they always do that on the specials. They just got the little guy with his fucking mocap suit on, and they're like, and the next thing you know, it's Gollum. No, bitch, it doesn't work like that. About 10 million hours of fucked up stuff between here and there to get Andy Serkis to be a fucking bat or whatever. It doesn't work. And some young director just seems like, you just paint green, and then a bat comes out. No. I'm that new guy, yeah. Well, then you know it. That's how it is. New guys always. I can't tell you how many times I've been a VFX freelancer in a room. The new guy's just like, "Can I have a pass that's just the reflection on the door?" Yeah. I don't even know what he's doing. Like Toy Story, someone accidentally deleted the movie. They shat themselves. I think I remember that. Yeah, so like I said, I mean, I could talk about visual effects forever, and I could talk about its overusage and it's all that shit, because visual effects is a mess. It's a fucking mess, and the standards are actually really low, and it can be such a beautiful thing when you get it. But I think also most people, as my career in visual effects has always been photoreal stuff. A lot of product visualization, a lot of places where corporations needed to sell something that was not real, and it needed to look absolutely real for all kinds of reasons, legal reasons, stockholder reasons, things that were way into the gray area of whether legally this should be actionable or not. But I've been in situations, none of which I could ever put on my websites, none of which I could ever really even talk about, and was paid to not talk about it and all that, adequate or compensatorily. But knowing how hard it is to actually make something look real. If most people had any idea what was going in, then certainly a director wouldn't be like, and now I need 1,000 of those. 1,000. It's going to take me 9 months to do one. From this angle, I mean one that 100% of people will go, that's real. You have to understand how fucking the universe has 1 billion things in it. You want 1,000 of them? You know, it's not, you can't maintain the quality like that. And I think if people understood that, then they wouldn't feel like, and now in this shot, this is a 20-minute sequence where the camera flies all over and the whole city collapses for my boring fucking movie. Nobody even gives a shit because I've only knocked the city down. People will fall asleep, you know, and you're like, okay, wouldn't you also try writing maybe a scene with some drama in it? Then you wouldn't have to knock the entire city down and blow up the planet to get people to stop from passing out in their popcorn and then forgetting about your movie in 5 minutes. I mean, if you actually had fucking drama, you would need fewer render farms and you'd have more profit, and then people would like your movie and for more than a weekend after you've bilked them out of your $10 tent pole hit and then just shipped it off to China to be edited and censored and have all the American taken out of it. Do you see why? Do you see why? Imagine this all day. That's actually my brain carnival. That's why there's going to be an app. And if you want to just like stand back, it's just going to be like that fucking like, you know, when, who's this X-Man with his fucking eyes just as a Cyclops? It'd be like that. My app's just going to be like like from my brain just all day. Whoa, turn that off. Or maybe you just feel like, you know, yeah, I need some of that. Fuck yeah today. That's what my app will be for. That's my pitch. Do you want a lot of fuck yeah or Jesus in your life? Then download Mic Drop. I have one more year until I get my Associate of Music degree. I want to hire an entire staff to play my music. Would a bachelor's be good for that? No, a lot of money would be good for that. Would be good. Get a staff. No, actually, your question has like so many issues in it. You know, first of all, if you're writing music, start putting it on people's stands right now, and then, you know, if it's good, they'll want to play for you, and then you could say, hey, listen, I have this thing, would you guys play for me? And they'll be like, yeah, because they like playing your stuff, because they played it a bunch. You should have stuff in the stands every day, especially if you're at a school. You have people around all the time with instruments who drink beer. You can get your stuff played all the time for real cheap and learn on the job. Just put stuff here. Play this. Wow, that sounds like shit. All right, hold on. Play that. That sounds like shit. All right, I'll come back tomorrow. Have a beer. That's the best way in the universe to learn. Trust me. Whenever you talk about VXF for film, I find it's hugely helpful and inspiring. It's navigationally orienting for me as someone 9-10 years into the industry. Well, you know, as someone 29, 30 years into the industry, you know, those waters are filled with all kinds of stuff. So I'm glad to hear that it's orienting in some way, because it's a fucked up, you know, and it's also all bullshit now, way more so than it was when I showed up. You know, it was much clearer back in the, you know, in 1990. It was like, this, and you met these people, and you worked on these projects, and they had these general things. It was like a lot simpler, and you came here, and you had your this, and then today it's like, what? But it's more the thing now, you just make your own world. You make your own product, you find your own audience, you distribute your own shit, you spend your own money, you make all your own money. That's the model, and you tap into multiple wells so that you're not in one place trying to get all your cash from one well. You let in multiple wells so that you can draw from multiple places, and that's how you survive. Diversification in skills, and diversification in ventures, and you know, and focused marketing, and then just being really fucking good at what you do. You'll crash into that one. But yeah, I mean, you know, I'll be, I have a couple of films that I want to produce and will eventually. We'll make them ourselves and put them out ourselves, and they will not be films they'll be films like I grew up on, films, they'll be like 80s kinds of films. Like real good guys, bad guys, real clear, aspirational shit, interesting drama, good structure, 3 acts, classic 2,000-year-old Aristotelian structure, music that you can remember, like that kind of stuff. That was not like, those didn't stop working. That's not why that went away. It just stopped being made by people who knew anything. That's just what happened. So you can still sell that product. You can sell the shit out of it. In fact, you can sell the shit out of it to a whole starving group of people that are kind of tired of talking about the good old days when they're like, why, what happened? It's not that they don't make them anymore. It's that they don't sell them. So I have a whole bunch of stuff that I want to do. And will. One step at a time. I'm in a small town, globally speaking. I wonder if less of the bullshit has made it here so far. Usually, I mean, if you're in, this is the white-hot nuclear core of bullshit, Los Angeles. It's just, it's the worst. Oh, there's no reason to be in Los Angeles. Zero, none, zero, zip, none, nada. So use the world, use the interconnectivity of the world, and plus if you're in some other place, that in itself becomes its own kind of asset. You're like, well, I live on a boat in the Bahamas, and I'm like, wow, it's so. He's just this artist who just lives on a boat in the Bahamas. We got him. Yeah, we're trying to get him here, but he's very hard to get. Oh, that's why he's so expensive. Meanwhile, you're in the Bahamas being like, oh, rent is $1, and that's $100,000 from suckers in Hollywood. Ka-ching! I was watching my stream hesitate. I wonder why at 2 hours and 43 minutes, starting to get hiccups in the stream. I wonder what that's about. Only 41% CPU. I wonder if that's a YouTube thing, but that's why I did this test. Anyway, other questions? Every one of you are coming to the chord voicing class tomorrow night, right? So we can talk about chord voicing. Sometimes I wish I had more people to put work in front of for critique. You have the whole world, the entire world. By the time it's in the theaters or Netflix, it's too late. Yeah, that's true. But make sure that you take your downtime to practice all your stuff and learn all your techniques. Because when you're on the gig, you're too busy executing. You know what I mean? And you can get stagnant working in the because you're like, I just got to do what works because I am on the gig. And so your downtime between gigs is like that's your time. That's your time to stretch out and put things together and try things out. But also, the more you write and the more you increase your skill, the faster that you are. So that buys you more time to get your initial ideas down, to get your first ones out, and then be able to just take a step back and go, okay, well, that was, I have it, but now let me really look at it, because it's always easier to fix something than to create something. But I have a whole master class called How to Score a Film in 7 Days, which is literally like, it's like 100 and some music or minutes of music or something. It was like, I don't know what it was, in 7 days. And it was like, here's how you get through that and not have the score be complete dog shit. But you bet there's some fucking ostinatos or repeated patterns and stuff in there. But those are survival skills too. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you have to remember that, you have the credits and you have Netflix and you have theater and stuff, but that's also your work. That's it. So somebody who doesn't know and isn't inherently impressed by the fact, that you worked for Netflix, because especially these days, nothing against it, but I mean, anybody can work for Netflix now. You know what I mean? There's so much fucking content. That doesn't mean, it's not like when there was only 12 films ever made a year and you were one of the 12 composers that would ever have been heard from that year. That's a different kind of thing than there were 12 things that came out this morning. You know what I mean? But still in all, somebody doesn't know that your work, and then they come to it and it's all this shit that got compromised for any number of reasons. You take the hit. You take the hit. You know what I'm saying? I want to take a moment to thank you for teaching to write faster. You're welcome. 99% of my music wouldn't exist without that approach, as I can only compose in my non-existent free time. Yeah, well, it's a skill, an important one, People look down on it so much, though. They have this idea that more time equals more quality. No, it's usually the opposite, Usually you can get to the really good thing, the 70% really good thing, pretty quick if you got your skills together. And then the rest of the time is spent on the things they'll remember you for, but not the things that'll get you to the gig, So... Is the race based on Jurassic Park theme? No, it is not in any way based on the Jurassic Park theme. There isn't any of the Jurassic Park theme in there. There's a lot of the Jurassic. Well, I think the first bar is maybe that. I think that opening thing is kind of like Journey to the Island. I think that's very similar to that. But otherwise, it's not harmonically or rhythmically connected to. This is. Does that sound like Jurassic Park to you? I don't know. No, that's not Jurassic Park. Unless there's a whole part of Jurassic Park that I missed. What is it? Right? No, I can't say that's the race. Are you going to do another stream critiquing our music? Yeah, we will. I mean, we do them traditionally at Christmas time. I think this will be Unleashed 6 coming up in December. Those marathon sessions, those are fun, and I always look forward to them. And I also like it when people take a year between them to like work on their stuff, and they come back in a year and like, all right, and you hear people improving. So yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? How about? That's what it is. Well, I did do a rhythm and percussion master class. Yeah, I think, like I said, somebody asking about. Yeah, I think it's the first bar. But it's a nice bar. Always steal a bar if you like a bar. Steal a bar. Just make sure you have something to say after you stole the bar. Make sure you have your own things to say. Otherwise, you just end up writing other people's music. You know, if the only. Maybe that's a little close to Star Wars. About as close as Star Wars was to King's Row. You know, you always have to, you know, when it comes to, especially when you start learning to do an emulation or an impression or a pastiche of a composer, you know, in the beginning, everybody can tell you're just basically rewriting, you know, Raiders or whatever. But the truth is, you can't sustain that for a career. You can't make 30 years out of that. You run out of that in about 5 bars. So you run into sooner or later that you really do have to have your own music to write and your own things to say and your own chops and skills to do with it, or you won't last. You cannot keep the lights on trying to kind of just, you know, just tweak a few bars out of John Williams music. Like, that's not a career. I heard it was more about the instruments, not so much about the rhythms. Am I wrong in thinking that? Well, our orchestrational sense is very similar, but then it wouldn't be just Jurassic Park. It would be a lot of Williams stuff. I mean, very much that orchestrational sense is much more how I learned to write and much more what I like versus a Jerry Goldsmith, very streamlined, very simple orchestration. I tended to like the denser colors and the nature of the way those colors blend and are moved around from section to section. I liked that, and I liked it when I heard it in Respighi and in Holst and in Copeland and in Barber, and I liked it in all the places that he stole it from or learned it from. So that's a style, that's a tradition. But ultimately, the orchestration, while it's tied to the composition, serves the composition. You know, you could play those pieces down on piano, and then they have their own harmonic language and their own stuff, or they don't. And that's really what the music is. You know. I'm going to be wrapping up here in just a minute. Okay. Okay. So yeah, pull a Vanilla Ice and add an extra note so Queen can't see you. Right. I have subscribed to the Chord voicing class. Can you please tell me what you'll be covering so that I can email questions on basis what email I should? Yeah. Can I don't know if you can scroll all the way back, but we're going to be talking about some of the somewhat insidious nature of chords, open and closed voicings, and where those occur, and how the voice leading inside can detract or bring attention to elements in the chords that are either supporting or playing a feature role in ways that you need to be able to control, otherwise they can bite you. That will naturally blend into how you handle certain instruments and groups and sections, but instruments and groups and sections always should follow the chords and the chord voicing. You don't have to write for a section. You should write your voices in a very specific way, and once you've looked at that, that will determine what orchestration you should use, not the other way around. It's always that way. Let the music guide it, and we'll actually be talking about how you realize big pieces, orchestral pieces that in your mind might need a ton of doublings or a lot of things going on in chord voicing when you've only got 2 hands at a piano. And the truth is that there's a very easy way to do that, and some very intuitive ways to do that. And at the heart of that, you will be finding the most important voicings for your chords that hold the meat and the essence of the piece that you don't want to disrupt. So we'll be taking some of the ideas, some of the stigma out of the ideas that you have to double these or don't double this, or people tend to overwrite and think, well, okay, well that's not enough. I have to explode that. Well, how far do I explode it? How open is the voicing? Who doubles? Who does what? Who does? And they tend to make it very complicated and convoluted. When the truth is that the thing that you need to be watching is simpler and more delicate in some ways, sometimes intuitive, sometimes counterintuitive. So we'll be talking about a few different scenarios in which that's the case, and looking at how those are affected in different ranges, because the rules for how you handle open voice to closed voice stuff applies differently up here than down here. They translate differently because of the sonorous nature of chords as they move around, in tonality. These are much more obscure tonalities than that is. It's all the same chord, but those tonalities change. A closed voice chord might be fine here, but you're not going to get that. How would you get that D to ring out way up there? You'd have to really open it up to get that D to ring way up there. Down here, it's closed will do it. Down here, you might want to open it up again because closed might turn it into mud. So the ranges itself change some of what you're going to do voicing-wise. But then once you've planted an anchor, that anchor might be stylistic. That anchor might be for a lot of reasons. How you move from that to other chords makes all the difference in terms of whether that element pulls attention or doesn't pull attention. So all kinds of stuff. It's a really dense topic, So we'll be talking about tons of stuff. And plus, whatever questions you will have on the day. That's the point of signing up for the classes. You can come tomorrow night live. You'll get there'll be an email will come for everybody who purchased the class, and you'll go there, and it's on Ustream. It's not on YouTube, and you'll be able to ask your questions, and it's like getting like one-on-one, stuff. All right, well, it looks like our stream is working, other than a little hiccup here or there, which I think we can live with. You can hear me. You can hear the piano. The lighting's not bad, considering it's a little fucking webcam, so this test has been satisfied. I thank you for your time. I'm going to get some rest, take some more Toradol and Vicodin and Jack Daniels and Tamsulosin and Ondansetron and what else am I taking? All kinds of shit, so that the kidney stones that I'm living with don't kill me in the middle of the masterclass. And we will see you tomorrow night. And with all your questions. And if you missed a class, can't come to class, you can get it afterwards and level up and increase your skill. And the back cabinet's all ready. Yeah, I'm just gonna get like a straw, like some weird Alice in Wonderland straw with 20 tentacles that all comes down to one funnel, and it's like a Long Island iced tea. Just like, let's force multiply that Vicodin. That'll be the show, as normal. That's Uncle Bourbon's way, and it should be fun. All right, good night, everybody. Thanks again, and we will see you tomorrow night.